Ghouls are the weakest race in the monster forest, surviving day to day by scavenging rotting corpses. Whenever they run into stronger monsters, they get absolutely thrashed like total losers. But one day, a puny little ghoul suddenly gained immense strength, going on a wild hunting spree against other species, and became the top predator in the food chain. And the surprise twist: the one behind this change was actually a human. Hanso was a promising young bodybuilder in South Korea, but during a competition, he tried to lift 10 tons to impress the audience, a move that literally sent him to the grave and ended up reincarnated in another world. The moment he opened his eyes, he was staring at a flock of derpy-faced chickens. He thought he'd eaten so much chicken breast in his past life that even in hell he was being chased by them. But these guys were way out of their league. Hanso beat them until their eyes popped out. That's when he realized he could see their stats and info just like in a video game. Who would have thought that behind those goofy faces? They were packed with protein, starving and desperate. The guy devoured the whole flock. Once he was done, Hanso realized the truth: he'd been reincarnated into the body of a scrawny dude who looked like a total junkie. All that effort building his six-pack over the years had gone down the drain. Luckily, Hanso still kept his gym bro mindset. He pulled a massive tree out of the ground with his bare hands. He put it on his shoulders to train and get back in shape. 3 months later, Hanso was much more muscular, but it still wasn't anything compared to his past life. Seeing those chickens now looking nice and plump, he decided to stock up on some more protein. Just then, something appeared behind Hanso. He turned around to see what it was and almost had a heart attack because it was a giant supersized chicken. Since Hanso had polished off its entire flock, it had come looking for revenge. Knowing he was no match for this beast, he bolted immediately, because one hit from that thing and he'd be smashed into paste. While running for his life, Hanso couldn't help but feel jealous of that chicken's pecs, which were just as shredded as a pro bodybuilder's. These gym rats lifting over 180 kilograms, crazy. Right? Man and chicken kept chasing each other through the woods. As Hanso was running, 2 derpy chickens popped out from the bushes, actually smirking at him. Hey, you ate our brothers the other day. Now look at you getting your karma." Hanso was furious, but couldn't do anything because behind him was a mad chicken trying to eat him. While fleeing, Hanso suddenly activated his hawk eye skill and discovered the giant chicken's name was cockatrice. It weighed 1.2 tons. Eating the breast meat of a cockatrice unlocks a rare skill, muscle recovery. Seeing that, Hanso decided to stop running. He'd rather face it head-on than lose his gains. This guy is obsessed. Most people think the way to build muscle is just training, but that's not quite right. Actually, muscle tissue gets broken down during exercise, which temporarily weakens your strength. Once you consume enough nutrients and rest properly, the damaged muscle fibers start growing back faster than before. This is what you call muscle recovery. Hanso figured that if he could eat this chicken, his old physique would come back to him. During the fight, Hanso accidentally activated the rapid-fire fist skill. With one punch, the giant chicken's head exploded. He successfully claimed its life and got that sweet protein to build muscle. Warning: muscle durability depleted. Muscle contraction activated for recovery. That night, Hanso had a delicious roasted chicken dinner. If he'd had some seasoning, it would have been perfect, but he didn't know that in the nearby woods, greedy eyes were staring at him, drooling with hunger. Actually, those guys were just 3 locals living there. It had been so long since they smelled meat that they were reacting like that. They'd realized Hanso was the one who defeated the giant cockatrice, the terror of the forest. Initially, the 3 of them didn't dare approach Hanso because they thought he was dangerous. But they were starving, so the 3 guys eventually just sat down and waited. Forget dignity, he's starving. Hanso asked who they were, and they said they were ghouls from the Alami region. He immediately used Hawk Eye to check their info. Sure enough, they weren't lying. Hanso was curious, since this was his first time meeting a species like a ghoul. One of the ghouls revealed that they were looking for the one who defeated the cockatrice and asked if Hanso had any info. He admitted he was the one who killed it and apologized, thinking the bird had an owner. The three ghouls, hearing that, were overjoyed. They explained that because the most powerful monster in the forest was dead, a war over territory had broken out in Alamai. The cockatrice didn't have much intelligence, but was extremely aggressive whenever its territory was invaded. They were hoping to beg Hanso to help the ghoul tribe, but he refused because he was too busy training to get his old body back. The three ghouls, hearing that, were extremely disappointed and had to say goodbye to head back to the village. Seeing them leave empty-handed, Hanso told them to take some chicken meat with them to eat after all. He couldn't eat it all by himself. The ghoul group thanked Hanso for his generosity. It had been so long since they had eaten meat, they were thrilled. Just as one of them leaned down to pick up the slab of meat, Hanso found it an eyesore and stopped him, then began to explain to the other guy that lifting heavy objects with bad form would lead to a severely dangerous back injury. The ghoul was just staring blankly, not understanding what this gym bro was talking about. You guys don't even know what a deadlift is. What's that? First time hearing that name? No wonder their limbs were thin as sticks. Hanso remembered his elementary school PE teacher who used to say, Hanso, only when you can teach someone else will you truly master it yourself. If your muscles ever stop growing, try teaching someone. It will help you. Hanso felt the teacher's words made sense, so he decided to help the three ghouls transport the meat back to their village. Inside the ghoul village, Hanso was being personally welcomed by the Ghoul King. The king thanked Hanso for the food aid for his people, but while talking, Hanso only paid attention to the king's bizarre body structure, limbs like twigs, while his belly was all fat. This is a classic sign of obesity from a sedentary lifestyle. This guy must love boozing and greasy food just like his old boss. Hanso ignored the formalities and told the Ogre King to get straight to the point. He asked why he'd been summoned. The Ogre King sighed. They were in trouble because of the death of the giant chicken, the cockatrice. The Ogre tribe was the weakest faction in Alamai. They lacked both power and skills. They had to eat carrion to survive. Hanso said he had absolutely no idea about any of that. The Ogre King was furious. He immediately ordered his subordinates to arrest the three ogres who had brought Hanso to the village. In no time, the three were tied up and brought before him. Facing the Ogre King, he asked them, "Do you still not realize your crimes?" Then he ordered his men to bring that thing out. You see, loyalty to the strong is the law of the jungle that has existed for a long time. So, I wanted to lure the one who defeated the cockatrice and make him loyal to me. But you dared to deceive me. Then pay with your lives, heavy mace, skill doubling power. Just as the Ogre King was about to punish the three Han, so blocked the strike from his mace with his bare hands. Wasting other people's time and bullying the weak, is this the culture of this village? How I already activated my skill. Maybe I didn't use the power correctly. Otherwise, how could a weak human block my attack? The Ogre King figured Han. So just got lucky, so he started bragging to him. I'll show you my true skill. My skill is heavy mace, which can increase the weight of a weapon from 2 to 10 times. With the Ogre King's current mana, he could increase the weight of his mace by 4 times. The mace weighed 32 kilograms, times 4, that's nearly 130 kilograms. Plus, the force of the Ogre King's swing, the destructive power should have been terrifying. Yet Hanso just blocked it with his hand, doing nothing, and the mace shattered itself before the horrified eyes of the king. Then Hanso easily controlled the Ogre King with just 2 fingers. Having his weak point held, he was so terrified he didn't dare move. While showing off, Hanso didn't forget to flex. Thanks to bodybuilding exercises, he was that strong. But none of them had ever heard of those exercises, so Hanso challenged the Ogre King to a deadlift, to explain to the Ogre village what is called bodybuilding. If Hanso loses, he will have to become the Ogre King's subordinate. Hanso reminded him not to forget to keep the proper posture, or he'd risk a back injury. At this moment, the Ogre King suddenly gave a sinister smile. Turns out, he had another skill called heavy blank that could reduce the weight of objects. Once this skill is activated, the weight of the barbell would be reduced to only 1/4. Just like that, the Ogre King successfully lifted 200 kilograms, but in reality, it only weighed 50 kilograms. Now, it was Han So's turn. He told everyone below to watch his movements and posture carefully. Before lifting, Han So had to warm up. Muscles need to stretch to avoid cramping during training. Deadlifting, or the deadly lift, is a full-body exercise in which the lower body is used the most. The first step is to stand straight with feet shoulder-width apart. Second, puff out your chest fully and keep a straight posture by shifting the weight to the back. Next, take the center of gravity from the middle of your feet, slowly lift the bar past your lower body and through your entire body, and finally lift it to knee height. At this point, the Ogre King secretly pulled some tricks, causing Han So's 200-kilogram barbell to multiply in weight many times over. But no matter what tricks he used, Han So wasn't intimidated. Han So not only lifted the bar, but also threw it high into the air, leaving the villagers in awe. Seeing this, the whole village, including the Ogre King, immediately knelt and begged him to become their big boss. From then on, Han So officially became the leader of the Ogre village. From the Ogre King, Han So learned a few things. This place is a completely different world compared to Earth, but there are legends about people transmigrating here who can return to their original world. This world is called Lisa and has a strong belief in the concept of the big fish eats the small fish, quite literally. The Ogre King's name is Gula, so from now on he will be called that. Gula led Han So to the training ground of the Ogre warriors. Calling it a training ground is a stretch. It was actually just a vacant lot with absolutely nothing there. Han So ordered everyone in the village to quickly be present at the training ground. Even though they didn't understand what their new leader wanted, they obeyed and stood in neat rows. Han So believed that ogres were weak creatures who only knew how to live off the leftovers of other races. But that would no longer happen if they had a strong body. Over the next 3 months, he would train everyone to become true warriors. If they could complete the training, they would no longer be looked down upon by other species. The first exercise in Han So's 3-month training course was push-ups. This exercise is simple, but doing it with the right form isn't easy. It will help your chest and arm muscles become solid. The ogre's task was to learn how to do push-ups that very day. 3 hours later, the whole group was exhausted after doing about 700 push-ups under the midday sun. Meanwhile, Han So had done over 20,000 push-ups with a rock on his back, and even felt it wasn't enough. He even told Gula to make the rock heavier. The ogres watching were sweating, wondering what the leader ate to be such a beast. By this time, everyone in the village was dead tired. Some even said they'd rather have Gula back as leader because who could stand such grueling training? Han So heard their complaints and was extremely angry. Because you have such a weak spirit, that's why you're called the weakest. Are you really resigned to being called the weakest? This is a wilderness where only the strong survive. Do you intend to live like cowards who only know how to run and hide when your friends, family, and loved ones are being slaughtered? If you're just that kind of trash, then get lost. I refuse to train you. As for those who dare to stay and continue doing push-ups, I will grant you the strength to protect the things that matter. After being lectured by Han So, the ogre village finally understood the importance of training. Everyone decided to stay and continue training. No one left. No matter how tired they were, they tried their best to finish the first training session. Sweat on the training field means less blood on the battlefield. Han So inspired everyone on how to become strong. A good coach isn't the one who knows the most about muscles, nor is it the one who has reached the limits of the body. The best coach is the one who can revive the determination and fighting spirit of others. At that moment, Han So's Hawkeye skill was also leveled up to level 2. Time passed by, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months had gone by. On the dirt road leading into the ogre village, a group of strangers appeared. They were the lizardmen. Today, the lizardmen had decided to conquer the ogre village to turn it into their colony, but they didn't know that their movements. Hanzo had already spotted them. He immediately ordered the ogre warriors to get into combat positions. This was their first battle after 3 months of training. Just as the lizardmen entered the canyon, countless rocks rained down from above. They were caught completely off guard, and several of them were hit. They were severely injured by the rocks and couldn't even stand up. Now they realized they had fallen into an ogre ambush. The young villagers were no longer the weakest. They were all ripped and muscular. The lizardman leader had to quickly come up with a strategy, or defeat would be inevitable. The leader sensed Gulo's mana and assumed he was the leader of the ogres. So he decided to challenge Gulo to a one-on-one duel to turn the tide. "Hey ogre, get out here. Don't be a coward hiding behind your underlings. Get down here and face me one-on-one." Hanzo. How will you respond to his provocation? Here we go. Hanzo couldn't help but remember that back in the day, he kept a pet crocodile. It had a crushing bite force of up to 2 tons. But even that crocodile couldn't bite through muscle that had been trained by me. It even broke its own teeth. You've been my pet for a while now. That's when he remembered how to deal with reptiles. Hanzo immediately jumped down and pinned the leader to the ground. First, you need to flip these lizard guys over. Make them expose their bellies. Next, you just have to stare them in the eyes. When animals are young, you need to show them that you are stronger. And sure enough, facing Hanzo's terrifying gaze, the opponent quickly surrendered. Who knows if this human will bite me next? The battle with the lizardmen ended in an overwhelming victory for the ogres. Not far from Alame lies the Virus Duchy. It is an honor for such a small nation to have such exceptional talents. All of you, I entrust you with the mission to investigate the disappearance of Lady Catrice. We will obey Count Wirot. General, is it really okay to entrust such an important mission to these young warriors? Haha, don't worry too much, Count Wirot. Although they are very young, they are rare geniuses. Label uses flashy swordsmanship to toy with his opponents. He is a master swordsman. Henda uses a heavy greatsword. It has the power to blow away any weapon his opponent uses. If the two of them fight together, nothing but a dragon could take them down. So I guess the warrior who looks quite simple behind Label is also an exceptional character, right? That guy is a bit hard to explain. I'm not really sure about his abilities either. Label and Henda suggested he come along because the 3 of them have been friends since childhood, and also because the 2 geniuses like him. After that, the 3 went into the forest to investigate the mysterious disappearance of Lady Catrice. On a tree nearby, a goblin was drawing its bow aiming at them. However, Label was faster and skewered it with 1 strike. By then, the other 2 were surrounded by goblins. Henda wasn't afraid at all and immediately swung his greatsword. Being a heavy weapon, with massive destructive power everywhere, it passed a bunch of goblins ended up dead. As for the last guy, he had an easy job. He hadn't done anything yet, and his 2 best friends had already finished off the goblins. Block felt quite jealous of his 2 friends, because even though all 3 were taught by the same master, only he was still weak. Perhaps this is the difference between a genius and an ordinary person. Meanwhile, at the ogre village, the lizard men were learning Hanzo's muscle-building training course. Thank you for everything you've done for us. Don't mention it. If you want to train more, just drop by. The ogre village also told the lizard men they had to push themselves hard to get as big as them. Finally, the lizard men left wondering how the ogres who were originally weak could be so bulky. It's truly unbelievable. I was also surprised when I first looked at my toned body. When you work out, your muscles get sore and grow through recovery. However, if fatigue accumulates in the central nervous system, training capacity decreases, or it can lead to injury. To prevent this, rest to reduce fatigue after training is called deloading. When the ogres reached their 9th week of training, they felt tired, so Hanzo gave the whole village a day off. To his surprise, the next morning, the ogres' bodies had shown clear development. It wasn't just their muscles, their height had also increased. Hanzo used his eagle eye skill to evaluate the ogres and found that their body fat percentage was very low, only 8%. He didn't expect the ogres to progress so fast. Since there were no games to play and no protein shakes to drink, the lizard men had left. Hanzo told the village to hurry and prepare dinner. A young ogre asked him if today they could go hunting by themselves. It's not that they wanted to skip training or anything, but they had never had the chance to confront prey directly because Hanzo was always the one hunting. Gula was curious if a strong ogre bodybuilder could beat Hanzo. He flatly declared that they were still just kids, and as for weightlifting, he could take on the whole village. After that, everyone started carrying their gear to go hunting. Even while walking, the ogres had to train their leg muscles under Hanzo's orders. At that moment, an ogre suddenly turned around while doing the exercise, resulting in an ankle injury. Hanzo saw this and immediately told everyone to stop, to check his injury. That evening, Block was practicing swordsmanship alone in the forest. He wanted to become strong so he wouldn't have to hide behind his two friends when something happened like it did this morning. So while everyone was sleeping, he was working hard. Label suddenly walked up and reminded Block to put more force into his thumb so the sword strike would be faster and stronger. So it was his training noise that woke his two friends up. Henda reminded him that it was late at night, and if he didn't go to sleep, his body would be tired tomorrow from lack of rest. Just then, a group of lizard men suddenly rushed out of the forest, heading toward them. But their goal wasn't them. It was like they were running away from something extremely terrifying behind them. Following them were even more monsters who also seemed to be afraid of something. Turns out they were being hunted by Hanzo and the ogre village to stock up on protein. From then on, a new ecosystem in the forest emerged with him as the one in charge. The top of the food chain is back. This afternoon, the whole crew is hiding behind the foliage, scouting their prey, those plump, juicy, and incredibly nutritious chickens. Eating them builds muscle at an insane speed. But even so, the hungry ghouls are still a bit intimidated about facing the flock of derpy chickens. Right now, one of the chickens is hunting, but it got stuck between two trees. Who would have guessed the chicken let out a sudden loud crow, and its entire body puffed up in the blink of an eye? It knocked those two trees down without breaking a sweat. Truly, once you're starving, even a chicken becomes a real threat. No wonder. The ghouls are terrified to hunt them. Witnessing that brute strength, one young ghoul went off to find two other trees to test his own might. He couldn't believe that after months of training, he wouldn't be as strong as a bird. But even though he gave it his all, the trees didn't budge an inch. I'll wait a minute and try again. I'll give you a full 3-minute break, man. You don't need to tense up so hard. Pay attention to your heel movement, Hanzo instructed. He performed the move perfectly, but it seemed the roots were dug in way too deep, so he still didn't have enough leverage to uproot them. At this moment, Hanzo suddenly turned his attention to the chicken flock. While observing them, he realized a difference between the derpy chickens and the ghouls. They've improved their muscle stability so well that I didn't even notice this. Lord Hanzo, is something wrong? I'm sorry we can't do it as well as they can. Is our form wrong? It's not that. It's just that your muscles have already adapted too well to my old routine. From now on, the ghoul village must change up the training schedule. Hanzo gathered everyone together to introduce new equipment and exercises. The thing behind me is a cable machine. It was built specifically to shake up your fixed routines. From now on, you'll use these to train your inner chest muscles. If you perform this exercise, you'll be able to easily defeat those chickens. That's our leader for you always. Ayos, knowing the answer. Cable flies. This exercise is used to stimulate the chest muscles to grow. It will take your muscles to a whole new level. This exercise is only effective if done correctly. It's one of the beginner level exercises. That's surprisingly tricky. First, bend your upper body slightly and flex your knees. Second, stand with your arms spread wide, keeping your torso locked in the center throughout the entire movement. Minimize shifting. Third, position yourself in the middle of the equipment, pulling with controlled tension, just like a bird trying to flap its wings, then cross your arms over. Fourth, different hand angles will target different muscle groups in your chest. Make sure not to shake. Keep your hands steady. Do not rely on the momentum of the cables. Taught by their leader, the ghouls were pumped and immediately started training. By the time they faced the chickens again, everyone's chest muscles had grown significantly. Unexpectedly, when the chickens saw this, they began to level up too. Their size became much larger than before. The ghouls weren't scared. They kept charging because their faith in the new training gave them extra strength. Both sides decided to clash right there in the forest. Outside, Hanso used his Hawkeye skill to observe the situation. He discovered the derpy chickens had evolved into meat beasts with 132 pounds of protein and 12% body fat. The ghouls were no match for them. If they didn't want the chickens to keep evolving, they had to make sure the chickens' breast muscles stopped growing. Meanwhile, back inside the ghoul village, there was still one person left, Gulo. He was assigned to stay behind and keep watch. Guarding an empty house might seem boring, but Gulo didn't see it that way. He actually felt quite happy and free. Hanso is a good guy, but our tastes are completely different. That's why I prepared this. Today's menu is crispy fried chicken skin. Ingredients include clean chicken skin flour, chili powder, oil, and salt. The first step is to use a knife to cut the cleaned chicken skin into uniform pieces. If you fry them, immediately they'll smell, so before cooking you need to use spices to remove the fishy odor. Next, add chili powder to the flour and mix well to create a magical coating. Finally, dust that mixture over the chicken skin before frying it in a pan of sizzling hot oil. And just like that, Gulo's golden, crispy, chewy fried chicken skin was finished. Returning to the battle in the forest, the ghouls were completely overpowered by the chickens. They had trained their inner chest muscles just as Hanso taught, but they still couldn't win. Hanso explained simply, "You guys have only been training for a few months, while those chickens have been developing their chest muscles to hunt since they were born. Getting chest muscles like that isn't easy, but that doesn't mean you have no way to win. You must remember how far you've come, how you must train your roots before you can unleash your full power. The true source of muscle strength starts from the roots. In the end, you finally get it. Maybe you only used your chest and lost, but what if you combined it with the power of your legs? Show me your effort and your spirit." After being enlightened by their leader, the ghouls got aggressive and immediately charged the chickens again. But the result, they still got swatted away in one hit. It turned out that carrying heavy weights and walking all the way here had exhausted their leg muscles. Only now did Hanso realize it, but it was too late. After winning, the chickens began looking down on everyone with contempt. "Who do you guys think you are?" It was time for Hanso to show them who the real apex predator of this forest is. Seeing someone still daring to provoke them, the chickens got angry and charged toward him. Facing that situation, Hanso remained extremely calm. He simply held out one hand. As the chickens charged, slow-motion footage flashed in their eyes, starting from when they were just tiny eggs that had just hatched, growing up a little bit, then being taught how to hunt by their parents. When they grew up, they always had to compete with their own kind. That process helped their chest muscles grow incredibly strong. That may be true, but today, the opponents they're facing are Hanso's crew. The result? He fed them all to the pot. "Eat plenty of protein, you guys. Tomorrow you'll have to catch it yourselves." "Can we really catch one, sir?" "Yes, listen up, team. Whoever is holding a chicken leg today has to do 300 push-ups." The next day, following Hanso's orders, the orcs went hunting again. He warned them to be careful, yet if they got injured, they couldn't train. Hanso didn't go with them because he was busy working on his chest. Without their leader to command the battle, the orcs had to devise their own tactical plan. According to calculations, Han So caught 27 derpy chickens all by himself yesterday. So today, their goal is to catch at least 50. They decided to split the team into 3 groups. If any group encountered danger, they would signal the other 2 groups for support. And so the second hunt of the orc village officially began. At this moment, 3 human youths found the remains of a cockatrice that Han So had boiled, but the skull was missing. It seemed it had been obliterated by high-level magic. Someone capable of killing a cockatrice with a single blow must be as powerful as a great wizard. Can we really handle this mission? Don't worry, Block. Even though you're the weakest in the group, we won't let you get hurt. The 3 were talking when they suddenly felt the ground shake. It turned out to be a squad of orcs herding chickens nearby. Very quickly, the orcs spotted the 3 human youths. The humans were also surprised to see a bunch of strange 6-packed monsters for the first time. Wait, humans are cruel and bloodthirsty creatures. We don't know how they'll act. Acting recklessly could put everyone in danger. What are those orcs doing? Is that some kind of performance before using a skill? Go call Squad 1 and Squad 2. We must gain the advantage through numbers. The orcs had figured out how to use their pectoral muscles to send signals to their comrades. Unexpectedly, this action provoked the chickens, accidentally helping them level up. The derpy chickens evolved into cockatrice monsters, their faces looking a bit less derpy. In a fit of rage, the whole flock charged toward the orcs. Squad 3 thought to themselves, "This is it. We're done for." However, in the nick of time, the captains of Squad 1 and Squad 2 arrived. Reinforcements had arrived. The orcs were no longer afraid of the cockatrices. Currently, they were able to use the secret techniques they learned from Han So, bench press with proper form. You've done well. When you can't maintain the right form, you need a spotter. But what should we do if we want to truly feel our own strength safely? The answer is Han So's secret bodybuilding technique. 4 orcs coordinated with each other to form a unit. From there, the attack from the one in front carried the power of all 3 people behind him. Relying on the 4-man combat formation, the orcs successfully beat up the chickens. In the group, there was 1 orc left over, about to be picked off by a cockatrice. The 3 human youths decided to help him because they were moved by the solidarity of the orcs. Just as both sides joined forces to take down the chickens, a new threat appeared, a supermassive cockatrice. Its eyes were filled with rage. This cockatrice reminded them of a dragon named Long Hat. That dragon was notoriously greedy and cruel. It was afraid that in the future, other dragons might surpass it, so it took extreme measures. It scattered its own power. And this is exactly how the cockatrice, a species closely related to the dragon, was born. This chicken, while not a dragon, is still an extremely dangerous creature to everyone. At this moment, Han So was still busy training his chest, so he still didn't know what was happening in the forest. Although his muscle growth was quite slow compared to his previous life, he still had plenty of time to adapt to this new world. 3 months had passed. Initially, they were as thin as anchovies. I had to teach them every step like teaching a newborn baby to walk. They almost gave up, but that was just a fleeting thought. In the end, they tried with all their might, and none of them quit. That is why their bodies developed more and more, and now they seem fine. Leader, we're in trouble. The chickens have evolved too fast, and everyone is in danger right now. If the situation continues like this, everyone is going to be finished. Shut your mouth and lead the way for me quickly. Warning: energy level exceeds muscular endurance. There is danger. Do you want to cancel? This skill. How dare you touch my boys? Confirmed. Continuing skill execution. Han So stomped his foot to gain momentum, causing the surrounding ground to crack. After that, he launched himself into the sky and vanished in the blink of an eye. Over there, Leaper and Henda were fighting the chicken. One attracted its attention to create a distraction, while the other aimed for its weak point. Although the attack strategy was very reasonable and the chicken was hit in a few vital spots, it was much stronger than the two thought. Very quickly, Leaper was flapped away into the sky by its wings. Even though the youth was seriously injured, he still signaled that he was alive to put his comrades at ease. Seeing this, the orc team had to use their secret combat form, the ultimate technique of a bodybuilder, the tower stack. But the chicken attacked too fiercely, so before long their combined formation was shattered. Just as the orcs were about to be in danger, something descended and wiped out the chicken. The dust cloud quickly cleared. The person who had just appeared was Gulo. As for Hanzo, because he jumped a bit too hard, he landed in the wrong spot. At this moment, a swarm of giant chickens arrived to surround Gulo. He wasn't afraid and even mocked the chickens. "Is that all you can do? That orc seems to be the Orc King. That long-range attack was quite impressive. What are you all looking at? Did you think I came here without any preparations? Lord Orc King, could it be that you had a plan ready? I have already drawn their attention. Take this opportunity to wipe them out. Lord Hanzo, please appear. Leader, why haven't you shown up? Where are you?" Leader, the Orc King had bluffed to the chickens. This was beyond saving. Unlike regular orcs, Gulo did not participate in bodybuilding training sessions, but his status had not changed. Then why was he able to maintain his position even though the other orcs in the village had become so much stronger? That is because Gulo was entrusted by Han. So, with a very important task controlling everyone's weight levels, Gulo had no choice but to continue executing the weight increase skill. Gulo's heavy bang skill had reached its maximum level and was getting stronger. While he wasn't paying attention before, Gulo only used one rock to defeat a giant chicken. However, now, they were calling for more kin, so he was feeling a bit nervous. The orcs saw this and started cheering for Gulo. If he could defeat the chicken with a single blow, he would truly be as strong as Hanzo. No one can defeat this massive thing with just one blow. Perhaps I am a genius because since the day I was born, I have been different from ordinary orcs. Let's go. Move it, you chickens. This great hungry ghost king will defeat you all. But as soon as he crowed, Google got smacked by a chicken and sent flying. We are truly doomed. We've arrived. Hannah Leaper. I'm sorry I could never understand your jokes. To have friends by my side in my final moments. At least, I won't be alone. Let's do our best. Down to the last muscle fiber. Thank you, leader, for teaching us. The training was tough, but we finally felt the joy of becoming strong. If there is a next life, please guide us again somewhere else. Hanzo found where Gulo fell. The hungry ghosts are in danger. Please, leader, save them. They activated the calm skill, detecting an overwhelming emotion. Calm skill. Calm skill has been cancelled. What is going on? Why are the chickens running all of a sudden? Where are they going? Oh, the chickens sensed the threat from Hanzo, so they ran to surround him. You guys can stop now. I'm being as calm as I possibly can. Detecting an emotion that overrides the calm skill. User will be scanned. The calm skill will be deactivated for 1 day. Tremors. This chest. It must be Mr. Hanzo. Who is this Mr. Hanzo you speak of? He is our teacher and leader. His muscles are much more sensitive than all of ours. Is that all? Words can't convey everything. Once you meet him, you'll understand. Why not just explain it briefly for them? Mr. Hanzo is our new demon king. I still don't get these guys. They aren't saying anything at all. At this moment, Hanzo is facing a giant flock of chickens alone. He unleashes a dumbbell tremor strike, sending one flying into the sky and 2 others. Seeing that, they immediately jump high and stomp down on the ground where Hanzo is standing. Even though he's pressed deep into the earth, he isn't afraid and uses a lifting technique to throw them elsewhere. While jumping out of the pit, Hanzo takes down another chicken. My ancestors taught me that your kind can grow muscles, thanks to the vibrations in the chest cavity, which is why I dragged you here. This is definitely the place. That's it. I can develop my own muscles with my own chest, but what about you? Can you do it? Hanzo places his hands on the ground, and the silhouette of an infinitely heavy dumbbell appears behind him. Hanzo's muscles suddenly expand as if he has turned into a giant. Then he unleashes his ultimate technique, the super roar, and he clobbers the idiotic chickens. Everyone arrives just in time to witness the scene of Han so pummeling the chickens. So this is the Demon King the hungry ghosts mentioned. To be able to strike like that. Is he even human? Using my legs too much. I can't waste time. I don't know how much longer I can maintain this form, but if I give up now, Mr. Hanzo, if it keeps going like this, I'll die of exhaustion. But I'd rather die alone than let the whole village perish. If I quit now, I'll have no face to show. The former Demon King Gulo, who volunteered to help me train. I have to finish this in one shot. Dumbbell tremor maximum weight, activate super muscle recovery skill. 15% of muscle mass restored. Warning. Limb muscles are the pillar. Upper body muscles are okay, but limb muscles are very weak. Quickly relax the muscles. In the upper body. Detected risk of muscle damage. Request to relax upper body muscles. Mr. Hanzo. We'll all help you. Afterward, the chickens were beaten by everyone. Working together. That's enough for today. Gulo, I'll miss you. Before Mr. Hanzo arrived, he was always so grumpy. But as soon as he met Han, so he turned into a good guy immediately. So who's going to help me up? Don't turn away like that, you ungrateful brats. Come back here, or you'll see. You worked hard today, Mr. Han. So, the sudden appearance of Gulo left everyone frozen for 5 seconds. What's wrong? I felt unwell, so before coming here, I took a nap. Gulo, you're still alive. What is this? Don't rush at me all at once. Stop it, or I'll give you a real beating. Welcome back, Gulo. From now on, let's protect and take care of everyone together. He destroyed all the cockatrice by himself. He is the one who killed the cockatrice, right? That's right. I'm pretty sure of it, Lord Wyrot. That Demon King is nothing to worry about, but that kid is definitely very dangerous. We still don't know when they will reveal their true nature. I must think carefully to find a way to deal with him. Come to think of it, where is Block? Didn't he come back with you guys? Hey, let me ask you. What are you doing? You kid there. You intend to harm him, don't you? Oh wow, look at this. His build is quite impressive, isn't it? Stop treating Block like an object. Do you want to be stronger than you are now? That's not important. What's important is what's behind you. So do you want to? You've probably wanted to try it at some point, right? If you want to stay here and train with me, we have no choice but to let him take Block away like that. Boss, please save Block from those monster bastards. We still don't know what they are training for. It could be dark magic. Some people were captured, and I feel terrible about it, but without knowing anything about them, I can't take such a risk. Besides, your boss isn't the type to take such risks. No, today, we are going to teach them a lesson. You two get ready to fight. Why are you suddenly so fired up? You don't look like yourself at all. Come on, get out of the way. This old man dares to touch my student. We have to save Block from the hungry ghosts. Come on. At the Hungry Ghost Village today, we have a newcomer. To start, let's practice squats. Let me ask, what is a squat? I will teach you. Come here. Squatting is the best exercise to make your body firm and also to increase muscle mass. Really, what is Block trying to do by sitting on the floor? Okay, stop talking. Honestly, the way you're doing it, you just look like you're standing up and sitting down. Instead, you must put the force into your thighs. That way, you won't harm your body. Spread your legs shoulder width apart. Block. Like this. Point your knees forward and move up and down as if you are about to sit. What are your hands doing? You've got to be decisive. Put all that power into your thighs and hips. That's what we call a proper squat. Not bad for your first time, honestly. Have you trained anywhere before? I've studied swordsmanship. Oh, really? Well, let's keep squatting then. Keep it sharp. Can you put your arms up? Let me put the weights on for you. Stand in the right stance and squat. There you go. That's perfect. Everyone give Block a round of applause. This guy is holding a pose while squatting and lifting weights at the same time. Just as I thought. I've got a great eye for talent. This is what you call real physical training. Block, you followed me because you wanted to get stronger, right? Well, yeah, I want to be as strong as my friends. I'm just worried I can't do it. Honestly, I know that someone like me, no matter how hard I try, will never compare to someone with natural-born talent. But I'm still so grateful to you, Hanzo. If I have your guidance, I think I'll at least be able to handle things on my own. What was that? You will grow strong in a different way. Strong enough to protect your friends. Block, you've got real potential. This is the first time anyone has ever acknowledged my talent. Alright, that's enough. Stop crying, your muscles will go soft. Requirements met. Eagle Eye's skill, upgraded from level 2 to level 3. Master Hanzo, why are you keeping these chicks? We can hunt chickens, but we can't hunt them mindlessly. If we do, there won't be any left. We have to stop that before they go extinct. Master Hanzo, these chicks grow up so fast, so there shouldn't be any problem raising them. There aren't many monsters in Alamai that can wipe them all out. We're stronger than those chicks now, but if they evolve, no one will be able to take them down except for Master Hanzo. You can't beat them. Are you for real? Well, not exactly. We can do it. I knew it. Why do you keep underestimating your own species? I was almost disappointed. Everyone use your thigh bones and your main muscle groups to hold the weight. Heavy blank set 1 of 10. Are you ready? I'm ready. Let's do it. All right then. I'm activating my skill. Heavy blank times 2. Crank up the weight. You can do it. While everyone was training, a stranger suddenly invaded the village. Demon, are you the one who kidnapped my student? I think there's a misunderstanding here. I don't know who you are, and I'm not the tribe leader here anymore. Your answer should just be yes or no. We aren't doing anything other than training. What do you mean by that? Whoa! He blocked a sword strike with his bare hands. She just injured her own muscles. Man, this old lady is dangerous. You two. Is this the one who kidnapped Block? That's him, Block. Your masters are here to save you. Block, where are you? Answer us. I'm sorry for interrupting your training. Kid, but kidnapping other people's students isn't a good thing, is it? What is this, Block? You already have a trainer. Well, this wouldn't have happened if you'd told me sooner. But bodybuilding is more interesting than swordsmanship, right? Be honest. Why are you stuttering? I'm sorry, Master. I prefer bodybuilding over swordsmanship. You came all this way to attack. I'm sorry, Master, but I've already found a new master. So, that's how it is. Then I have no choice. I'll have to use force to take you back. Having said that, the strange woman unleashed her signature heavenly sword technique. Hanzo quickly tensed his muscles to block the incoming strike. This hurts my pride, you know. I can only manage to make you bleed. Block, you want to train to get a physique like this? Yes, Master Hanzo, that's so cool. All right, let's do it this way. This boy and I will duel to decide who gets to be his master. The winner's martial arts will be the final word. Maybe you don't know this, but bodybuilding isn't a martial art. It's just exercise to train and improve one's own body. I heard you killed a cockatrice with something called bodybuilding that was to get more protein. Everything I do is just for survival. So bodybuilding has no use in actual combat. What? What did you just say? Why are you so angry? Does that wound your pride? What's the point of training your body if it can't sati fight? In other words, it's just trash. I'll show you what training is for. Chicken leg muscle compression mechanism activated. I wonder if Master Hanzo and that lady fight, who would win. Just look at their builds, you can figure it out for yourself. Body size doesn't mean anything. The master is one of the 10 strongest people on the continent. Skill activated Eagle Eye level 3. Species human. Profession master of swordsmanship. With only that much muscle mass, how could she hurt herself? Humans can't use swords to deal damage to muscles. You alien, what kind of martial arts are you teaching? The kind of swordsmanship I teach is the kind that can mince my enemies with sword energy. Let a senior like me teach you a few things. Do you know why I call you an alien, even though you look like a human? It's because your magical energy is red. The redder your magic, the purer your demon lineage. And the technique you're using, no human can change their physical form while fighting. You just need enough determination to change your form. Don't act like you know everything that only happens to aliens like you. Humans can only use inner energy like this to make up for their shortcomings in battle. Single sword style, 10,000 hearts pierced. Even if you try to spread your martial arts here, it's useless. Now, do you understand your martial arts are just a piece of junk to humans? And you think you can beat me with that shameful martial art? So these are the ways your opponents were defeated. Say those opponents you faced, were any of them stronger than me? Why would I even care about that? Once someone is my opponent, they aren't walking away. We fitness fanatics are always striving to surpass those stronger than us anyway. I'll show you what that means. Block, tell him about this. Okay, I'm sorry. We thought we wouldn't see you again, so we went to see our master. We knew it would make you hate us, but I don't know. What are you two talking about? Why would I hate you? You guys left because you were being forced to write. Wait, what? I came here because I wanted to learn more about bodybuilding. I was even planning on coming back later. Really? Since she already gave the okay, Block, what kind of martial arts are you planning to learn? We're curious too. We just got here, so I'm not sure yet. Demon King, could you guide us? Sure, follow me. Do you remember what your master said was the most important thing in swordsmanship when you first started training? It's your center of gravity, the lower part. Exactly. With the exercise we're about to do, we're going to engage our entire lower core. We're focusing on the quads with squats, Han. You told me to learn the proper form first, but wouldn't it be dangerous to add weights to make it more challenging? It's fine, I'll spot you guys. Elsewhere, Han So is still exchanging moves with the master of the three young men. It's strange though. They keep pushing and pulling back and forth like they're lifting weights. Why are you pulling back your strength? No, I'm actually concentrating my power. Technically it's called a contraction technique. And over there, Lair and Henda are groaning. So the old man and his grandson got roped into the gym life by their friend too. What the heck are they training? They're doing squats. It's part of the routine. My apologies. May I include your workout in our training program? Seriously, why did you change your mind so quickly? I've discovered a fierce passion for it. I found happiness watching bodies drenched in sweat, forming an alliance, united through training. As he saw the master of Han, So noticed something. Her biceps were no joke. How do you train, anyway? Haha, you're curious. Fine, I'll tell you. Actually, it's nothing special. My job is swinging a sword all day, that's how I train. But I'm curious about something else. Are you okay with teaching everyone these advanced training methods without asking for a reward? No. Why not? The more people who train, the better. Right? Why would you think otherwise? Because you could have gyms everywhere. Plus, you'd be more efficient at your work if you learned more training methods, right? That could work across the entire continent. I want a culture of health to spread far and wide. You're funnier than I thought. I like you. There. I'll grant you a favor anytime you want. That evening, while everyone was eating, Block had something on his mind. Please, Han So. I don't know if you're aware, but the city I live in is extremely discriminatory. Not just against demi-humans, but even against dark magic users and so on. Even the leaders there prioritize certain people. Young people like me don't care much about that, but I'm worried that you, Han So, and your friends here will get hurt. Han So, who was chewing on some chicken breast, realized this was a serious issue. Well, then let's take our time and think about this trip. Han So. He didn't answer Block's question, focusing only on the horse's feed instead. The texture was so crunchy and sticky, no doubt this is the main ingredient for oatmeal. Only horses get to eat something this clean and nutritious. This really is a serious problem. Look at that kid eating animal feed. It doesn't even taste good. In the end, monsters are just terrible when it comes to Food. If a monster heard that, they'd be sad. I've tried the army rations you guys usually eat. They're pretty bland. But would you like to taste my food? This monster. Is it inviting us? I think it's actually good. It's sweet light, and even has a hint of spice. And that spice was added so cleverly, it's brilliant. I'd lost my sense of taste before, but now I'm enjoying it. I'll give you the recipe when we get close to our destination, so stop looking down on monsters. Understood, sir. This monster, you said your name was Rayona. What is it? We'll continue tomorrow morning. Do you remember saying you'd grant me a favor? Of course I remember. I've decided what I want. I want you to help me with the Basho cereal issue. Isn't this animal feed? You heard everyone else? I heard you're planning on raising chickens. You're going to feed them cereal. Not them, we are. I'm going to eat the cereal. It's not really a problem for me, but I'd feel sad letting you eat animal feed. Right. That's Mr. Han So. She seems to be a high-ranking official in the human ranks. Besides, we aren't used to eating cereal anyway. What did you just say? Say that again. Did you hear that they aren't wrong? If you want something grander, just tell me. You could turn your tent into a log cabin. You could wear warrior's gear instead of commoner clothes. And the food all you need is chicken breast. Mr. Han So loves chicken breast so much. It's not like that. Only eating protein is terrible for the body, especially the liver. But if we eat the right amount of carbohydrates, glycogen will produce the substances that help us build muscle. Actually, oats are a complex carbohydrate. They can slow down, digestion, are low in calories, and are packed with nutrients. That's why they're known as the king of grains on Earth. So what better reward is there than oats? Everyone was left speechless. They didn't understand what this guy was talking about, but the demons were getting really excited. What is it? Show us. I think that must be the secret trick he used to deal with Lady Rayona. Do you think so? We can't lose to a bunch of monsters. Let's eat it too. Block is eating it too. Let's give it a try. But after one bite, the whole group started shouting. At the same time, this stuff, it tastes like, it's not good at all. Block spit it out. It tastes awful. The whole group of bodybuilders spat it out too. But it's tasty. And the texture is great. Don't you guys think so? He even has talent for eating. It tastes terrible, spit it out. It's gross. Even all the muscle heads are spitting it out. But it tastes good, and the texture is great. Don't you guys think so? He's got a real talent for eating. You know, he'll get stronger in no time. He's super pumped up. I don't really get what you're saying, but you seem to know your stuff. I'll kickstart the production process to meet your request. Are you serious, Rayona? You're the best. At least we aren't losing anything. General Rayona is back. Open the gates. Hey, Han. So, do you remember what I said? No. This is the land of eccentrics, the strongest nation on the continent. A country that discriminates. The judgmental stares of the people here make the ogres feel uneasy. What's wrong? Fix your posture when you walk. They're only looking because you guys have great physiques. Is that really it? Leader, I'm pretty sure that's not it. And so, under the judgmental stares of the crowd, the whole group starts walking while confidently showing off their muscles. Why do I actually like these monsters? Meanwhile, at Wirat Castle. So you're the one who taught my soldiers how to train, and you're feeding them cattle feed. It's not cattle feed, it's oats, like oatmeal. To eat. What a rude guy. My general made a proposal to bring these special monsters to the castle. If it weren't for that proposal, I wouldn't have let you take even a single step in here. Thank you for your generosity, my lord. Don't cause any trouble. Just teach our soldiers how to train, and then quietly leave. If you've finished your work and want to learn, I can be your personal trainer. I don't need that. Just do as I said. How shameless. The generals are too famous, it's making me nervous. How can we ever change the people's attitude? This is a good opportunity. You, over there, bring the Tutula mercenaries here. General, your guests are going to bare their fangs at you. Training grounds. Everyone, stop. Today, we are going to have a special training session. The person standing next to me is the special instructor General Rayona brought into the castle. Ogre Master Juhan. An ogre master. Seriously, isn't he a monster? Why is a monster our instructor? I know you guys don't like the new instructor, but if you don't follow his orders, it's the same as going against military law. Hello everyone, I'm Juhan. So the special instructor will guide you in training today. I don't like the way you're all looking at me, so everyone get down. Why are you looking at me? Do as Hanso says. Lie down and suck in your gut. You jerks, you're not following orders. What are you guys doing? Hurry up. This scene is hilarious. Everyone, are you really listening to that monster cadet? If you call Instructor Hanzo a monster, that act will be considered disrespectful to the general. Do you think that... Instructor, do you think that monster's orders are the general's orders? Everyone get up. Are you going to follow the orders of that monster? Keep your human honor. Military orders are absolute. Is there a problem? There are a lot of problems, actually. First of all, as humans, we don't listen to monsters like you. Second, the thing you call training, we have no reason to train anything other than swordsmanship. The final problem is that we don't want to learn the training methods of uncivilized monsters. Wait a second, Instructor Hanso. I think I can handle this. Regarding the first point, the person standing over there can act as a substitute for Instructor Hanso to teach you, so you won't have any more problems, right? As for the second point, I don't know if swordsmanship training is more useful since I've never compared the two. Why don't we try a one-on-one duel? And as for the last point, whether it's uncivilized or not, why don't you try competing and see? You humans, are you ready? We are ready. These guys are truly hopeless. All right, I accept the challenge, Instructor. Is this allowed? I'm on the human side. Where is the other side? Hey, stupid monsters. But I'm sorry, I'm not a cadet. Let me show you the fear that the Shitutula mercenaries, whom the Count personally requested, can bring. The battle begins. This guy just charged in and got smacked into unconsciousness by the young ogre. Hey, are you okay? Is he dead? I see you are still twitching, so you must be alive. Don't be too rough. Are you showing off? I'm sorry, leader. Forget it. You didn't mean it. No need to apologize. Now, since you guys lost, obey my orders. Yes, Instructor. Who would have thought that guy had woken up and was secretly activating his power? While the ogre turned away, he suddenly lunged to attack from behind, but before his sword could even strike, he was smacked by Hanso's palm and embedded into the wall. The next day, Rayona came to the training grounds to visit everyone. Hanso, how are you? Clearly he used magic. I agree. I believe he also used magic during the match. That's why I can't trust monsters. Instructor, I don't really understand the situation here. Please explain what's going on. Yes, General. A battle broke out because some people didn't want to follow your orders. So our soldiers lost, but some are claiming the monsters used magic. Hanso, did you really use magic in the fight? I wouldn't bother doing that. Do you believe that, Monster General? I was just passing by, and I heard some interesting things. Tell me what is going on here. General, are you on my side, or are you with these monsters? Of course I'm on the humans' side. If that's the case, then who are you listening to? Did you come here to train? Get off your horse first, then. Hey, Hanso, I don't think he came here to train. He didn't. General, I am very unhappy. The guests that you brought have caused some problems for our people. A soldier was injured, and that is a very serious problem. How could a lord like me just ignore this? As the Lord of Wirot Principality, I will exile General Rayona for 2 years. However, upon seeing the murderous gaze in Rayona's eyes, the Lord immediately froze and dared not say another word. My lord, that simply cannot happen. Let us kill those monsters. Please withdraw your order. I almost wet myself, Han, so I'm sorry for bringing you here. It's fine. Take good care of them, okay? Don't worry about it. We aren't exactly welcomed everywhere, my lord. At the very least, we can let them stay here for 3 months as promised. Fine. I will keep my promise. Good. The preparations are complete. Everyone be silent for me. How dare you talk back to the Lord like that? Do you even dare to call yourselves the soldiers of this country after this? But General, I said be silent, you bunch of brats. I thought you were just discriminating against the monsters, but it turns out you know how to talk back. Hishadi to your superiors, don't you? I should step back and give these future seeds a chance to grow. I wonder how this experience will change these seeds. When I come back, it'll be a fun sight. Why is she laughing so creepily? That evening, the man who had caused trouble for Han so secretly left the castle with a bounty in his pocket. Just need to do this. A little more, and I'll have enough money to stop doing this dirty work. This bell looks like a flower. Should I open a flower shop? My dear wife and daughter, wait just a little longer. Dad will be home soon. However, this man didn't know that the village where his wife and child were staying was already engulfed in flames. Welcome home, truly a beautiful way to greet us, princess. May I have this dance? The next day, 2 gargoyles were in the forest hunting slimes. Didn't you just break your arm? My arm is perfectly fine now. You brats! What are you doing with that pile of slimes? So it's Master Block and General Ryan. Didn't you say you wouldn't come back after leaving with her? Well, you guys still haven't answered my question. Master Han So said we need these slimes. For what slimes can't even be used as medicine? Come with us. You should probably see for yourself. Master Han. So we've arrived. Block is here. Oh, Rayona too. I was just stopping by to see everyone before leaving. I'm also quite curious to see what you guys will do next. Use your pecs to squeeze them into a corner. So what exactly are you planning to do with those slimes? When I looked at my students on the training grounds, I realized that training for muscle mass or lifting weights isn't effective for these kids. In this case, training them like athletes would probably be more useful, but we don't have enough equipment, so I have to create them myself. Crafting equipment from slimes. Is it like the dummies you use to practice quick slashes? No. It's nothing like swordsmanship. Bring a slime over here. First, once you have the slime, you do this. Take this stone out. It will regenerate after just a few days, so we can leave it out. And do it like this. I'll make a hole in the center of the slime. Once that regeneration stone is gone, these slime monsters have incredible elasticity. Next, I'll use my hands to stretch them like this, before they contract. And there you have it, a training band. The shape, Nuru, will look like this. Rayona. I'm sure you don't know this, but with this, you can do so many different exercises. The elasticity depends on their color, so I'll name them and use them for a variety of training routines. Master Han. So thank you, and I'm sorry. For what? I guess you don't know, but I used to doubt you. I thought you were just pretending to be obsessed with training to get close to people, but you were actually sincere with us. I really am a failed teacher. For not being able to stop the virus territory from becoming a sensible nation. That's why I endured the Lord's absurdity. But you are different. I believe you can make this country change. Change. Let me see. That's my specialty. Not that kind of change. So like this. No, not like that either. That's the kind of change I was talking about. Monster trainer. Let's see what he teaches us first. We didn't come here because we lost the battle or anything. Don't start with those weird moves like lying on your stomach, okay? Master Han, so can I leave these kids with you? Of course you can. The number of new members keeps increasing. Meanwhile, not only was Han So changing, but my enemy is a monster that won't die. The scary thing about these zombies is that I will also turn into a monster. If I get bitten, be careful. Don't let your horses get bitten and watch yourselves too. Warriors charge and attack them. Give it to me. Beat 'em in. No, wait. If we appear now, it will implicate others. Just wait a little longer. Beat 'em in. Those zombies are just props. The Gokdu, New Training Camp. As I said, a person has a limited amount of physical energy per day. That is why we focus on the necessary muscle groups. Do you understand what Master Han so just said? No? Everyone start stretching with the bands to prepare for chest presses. No, today we're doing CrossFit instead of chest presses, my lord. CrossFit? What is that? CrossFit is a training method invented by Greg Glassman. It's a continuous non-stop training method with high performance and high intensity exercises. This means it's a workout for multiple muscle groups on the body, and it requires us to move in a hexagonal pattern. Also, if we form groups and set goals, it will create teamwork and boost competition. I've created a list for each group, so if you have any questions, ask Google. Everyone, let's try our best to complete the workout. During training, Han So occasionally heard strange noises. I've heard that sound several times now. What is it used for? Our Lord lately has been personally attacking the zombies ever since they started appearing frequently in the villages around the castle. They're sending signals for reinforcements. It seems the enemy is stronger than they expected. Hey, your core is collapsing. Lose some weight and train properly. Just as I thought, he doesn't care. According to our exact investigation, we have confirmed that the enemy base is at the end of this road. This time, wipe them out and bring peace to our homeland. All troops advance. My lord, I fear we have gone a bit too deep into the zombie horde. Zombies have no intelligence, so they cannot form strategies. All we need is strength and manpower to destroy them. Look, our troops are steadily advancing. All troops charge. Don't slow down. Keep pushing forward. War is all about momentum. Don't stop until we've wiped out every last enemy. They've finally shown themselves. The enemy commander has revealed his face in a flash. It's Ben, an old friend from Gudo's past. He was shocked, realizing that even after all these decades, Ben hasn't aged a day. It turns out during all that time, Ben had been experimenting on his own body. After injecting those vials of blue liquid into his veins, he transformed into a giant monster. His strength and speed were pushed to the absolute limit. With just a few basic strikes, Gudo was pummeled like a rag doll. He was completely outmatched. Ben scoffed, claiming that Gudo stayed weak because he only obsessed over swordsmanship while he was using research to drive civilization to a new level. Right now, Ben's experimental monsters are rampaging, slaughtering the soldiers. He's confident that this is proof his research is correct, that the world will always have someone great for something, but that someone isn't bound by the standards of an ordinary person. Just as Ben was about to finish Gudo off his subordinate, Ivan appeared just in time to block the attack. He roared at the Count and his soldiers to retreat immediately, while he would stay behind to hold off Ben and his cohorts. Seizing the chance, Gudo spurred his horse to flee the battlefield, but his loyal subordinate bravely sacrificed his life under the monster's brutal fists. Gudo galloped away, his breathing ragged and filled with anxiety. This is a disaster, he thought. In his mind, the image of Ben and those terrifying monsters kept flashing, leaving him wondering how on earth he could possibly defeat such monsters. Meanwhile, in another place, Han San and his muscle army were diligently training with insane intensity. He didn't stop lifting those giant stone dumbbells, muttering, "The count, 152,123, 152,124, 152,125. Han San's face remained incredibly calm, even though the count had exceeded 150,000 reps. He kept counting 152,138, 152,139, 152,140. Back with the retreating army, Gudo shouted for a status report. No one was reporting on the situation of the troops. Suddenly, Lumi stepped forward and spoke. "I am captain of the 20th Unit Lumi." Gudo barked the order to report. Lumi delivered the haunting numbers. With a heavy heart, out of 400 soldiers, 347 have been killed or infected. 27 are wounded. Only 26 remain unharmed. Hearing this, Gudo was struck with horror. He calculated that there were only about 100 backup troops left in the city, mostly trainees or the injured. He shouted in rage, "Damn it! How are we supposed to fight a war with only 126 people?" Lumi suggested calling General Leon back, but Gudo brushed it off, thinking it was too late for reinforcements to arrive in time. Then Lumi proposed a bold idea. "What if we borrow the power of those monsters stationed in the city?" Gudo asked in surprise. "Those monsters?" Lumi explained that their leader, Han Son, had strength equal to General Leon. Since the army was providing them with food and shelter, they could use that as leverage to demand they join the battle. Gudo nodded, liking the plan to use monsters to fight monsters. He made up his mind, "Fine, do it," and spurred his horse forward. 3 days later, at the military training ground, Gudo charged in on his horse and roared, "Stop training, everyone assemble," while Han Son and his muscle army were still, clueless, holding their purple dumbbells. "What do you think you're doing? Obey the Count's orders at once." Gudo looked down at the people idling around him and asked, "Hey, big guy, is your name?" "Han Son." Han Son smiled casually and replied, "Yeah, you here to lift?" Gudo's face turned serious, full of gravity. "No, I'm here to command you monsters," he suddenly shouted with fury. "It's time you repay the favor for the food and shelter you've been given, you lowly creatures." Gudo raised his fist and declared loudly, "By the order of Count Gudo, I command you all to annihilate the zombie army approaching outside the city walls, facing the silence and blank stares of the muscle army." Gudo thought angrily, "Damn it, they really are low-level monsters. Do they not understand human speech? Look at those blank faces." He continued shouting, "You have the honor of being cannon fodder for me, especially you, the ringleader, Han Son. I will grant you citizenship in the great kingdom of Gudo." Seeing no reaction, Gudo bellowed excitedly, "Isn't this the best deal ever? Feel free to show off that freakish physique of yours." Han Son suddenly shouted, "Front double biceps, war," with very little fighting, but lots of flexing. Immediately, the muscle army flexed in unison, showing off their bulging muscles with confidence. Witnessing this bizarre sight, Gudo could only utter, in frustration, "What the hell are you guys doing?" Han Son maintained his smug expression, explaining that this was bodybuilding, a concept within the vast realm of the gym. Pointing at his teammates, Han Son affirmed that showing off their physique was exactly what he meant. However, Gudo had completely run out of patience. He roared, "Out! There's no time for chit-chat if you don't follow my orders right now." Gudo threatened that if they were injured or killed, everything would be over. That sentence hit a nerve with Han Son. He instantly radiated intense killing intent, his eyes glowing red, growling, "You won't be able to lift ever again, you idiot, if I lose my muscle mass. Wheat, will you take responsibility for it?" Under the suffocating pressure and the giant phantom looming behind Han Son, Gudo turned pale, sweat pouring down his face. He stammered, "I don't understand what you're saying, but I think I should apologize." The Count was completely broken. He hurriedly bowed his head. "No, I'm sorry." The terrifying pressure made Gudo feel like vomiting. He corrected himself timidly. "I was wrong. I apologize. Please stop flexing. I'm scared." Seeing that the other side was being reasonable, Han Son gave a slight nod, accepting the apology. Gudo didn't dare linger any longer. He quickly spurred his horse to leave with Lumi. Han Son immediately turned back to training. He excitedly shouted, "All right, break's over. Let's start back from number 1. On the other side, Lumi anxiously asked Gudo if they should try to convince them again, but he flatly refused, believing that from the start there was nothing to expect from those monsters. Gudo ordered for General Ox to be summoned immediately. To Lumi's surprise, Gudo insisted that although his temperament was a bit rough, Ox's strength was unquestionable and could fully rival General Leon. The two quietly spurred their horses forward. Gudo ordered all troops to assemble before the city gate, determined to show the zombies the strength of humanity. Outside the walls, the sea of undead was screaming and closing in. On the ramparts, General Ox, with his hulking frame and signature nose ring, was ready to engage the battle. Gudo watched nervously from within. As he looked at the sea of zombies pouring in like a tidal wave, General Ox suddenly roared, "Stop!" He shouted at the opposing side reports that you have a leader with a brain, Ox. Are you still suggesting that you have no intention of talking? From a distance, Ben and the group, a giant minion lumbered toward them. Gudo was shocked to see Ben, who was walking along while casually digging into his ear with a look of disdain. "Still picking your ear? What's the call for anyway?" Standing high up, Ox declared with authority, "Even though your monster army is huge, breaking through this fortified wall is impossible." He offered a challenge. "That's why," he said, "you, the representative of the monster horde, and I, the representative of the kingdom of Gudo, should settle this with a duel to decide the outcome of the war." Ben laughed. Excited, Ben replied, "Sounds fun. I accept your offer." Seeing the enemy take the bait, Ox smirked and suddenly leaped straight off the fortress wall. He slammed into the ground, creating a massive cloud of dust. Through the haze, Ox roared, "Who's stepping up?" A giant muscular monster with a black mask covering its face emerged. It stepped forward, let out a thunderous roar, and began to flex, showcasing its threatening, bulging muscles. Ox stared at his massive opponent and remarked, "Size, that's not bad." He immediately lunged forward, intending to test the monster's true strength. After a massive collision, Ox smirked, "Pretty tough, huh?" He continued to press the attack, unleashing a barrage of punches that made the monster's flesh ripple under the impact. Suddenly, the monster spat, a stream of black corrosive liquid from its mouth. Ox quickly flipped out of the way and muttered, "That's definitely a move to dodge." Looking at the melting ground, Ox mocked, "What is this rotten carcass supposed to be? I've never seen an undead like you." The monster trembled. Inside, only one thought remained. Dangerous. He's too strong. It immediately turned and fled for its life. Ox was stunned and shouted, "Running away." He chased after it, aggressively roaring, "No, one of us has to die for this. That's the only way this ends." Ox quickly closed the distance and grabbed the monster from behind. Gudo shouted a warning, "General, watch your side." Ox barely managed to dodge in the nick of time. Ox roared in anger, "How dare you interfere in a holy duel?" He poured all his strength into his legs and lunged at the intruder. Suddenly, a lightning-fast punch slammed straight into his face, sending Ox flying. He spat blood in agony. Cough. Ben appeared with a crazed grin. "Holy duel, who cares as long as you win, right?" He laughed while flexing his massive muscular arms thick with bulging veins. Ben stared at Ox with icy eyes and asked, "Do you know why I accepted this fight?" He growled, "Because you're the only variable left in this country." Continued from above, "Because you're the only variable left in this country." Harsh, bone-crushing sounds echoed repeatedly, signaling a tragic end. Witnessing their strongest general being tortured, Gudo and Lumi could only stand frozen in horror, their faces pale at Ben's extreme brutality. Ox lay gasping on the ground, his body mangled. He wheezed in desperation, "Please, please, spare me." "You want to be spared, sure. I'll definitely let you live." To the general's absolute bewilderment, the monster used its terrifying strength to hurl him high into the sky. General Ox plummeted from above. With a face full of shock at the unexpected turn, he screamed in despair as he saw himself falling straight into a swarming mass of thousands of shrieking zombies below. A horrific sound erupted immediately, followed by the gruesome noise of being torn apart amid the sea of deformed figures. From within the crowd, a monster with white stringy hair and a beard emerged. It was the once valiant General Ox now. completely transformed. Witnessing this nightmare, Gudo stammered, "Oh, we're done for. My elite troops are now zombies." Ben watched with a triumphant look and taunted, "Gudo, why don't you just give up and surrender the city nicely? I'll spare your life." Gudo roared back in anger, "Don't say such stupid things. Do you think I'll hand over the kingdom of Gudo to someone who has abandoned their humanity like you?" Ben laughed sinisterly. "Fine, then negotiations have failed. Besides, I never had any intention of letting you live anyway." His face turned cold instantly. Ben gestured and ordered his zombie army to advance. The undead frantically rushed toward the gate like an unstoppable flood. Gudo panicked and shouted orders to his soldiers. "Archers, fire! Fire your arrows!" But the soldiers on the walls just trembled. In their helplessness, they replied, "We've never fired a bow before. How are we supposed to aim? What a reliable army this is." Watching the incompetence of his troops, Gudo gritted his teeth in hatred and slammed his fist against the wall. He cursed, "Damn it!" Lumi anxiously approached and asked, "Count, what should we do?" Gudo stood silent, sweat streaming down his face. He gasped in utter despair, "I don't know." Before Lumi's stunned, questioning gaze, Gudo suddenly snapped and shouted in her face, "I already told you I don't know." The Count had completely lost his will to fight. He turned and fled for his life deep into the city, ignoring Lumi calling out to him in shock. Gudo just kept running crazily through the streets, abandoning everything behind him. In his mind, bitter mocking words from his past kept echoing, "Coward Gudo." The laughter of children still haunted him. Gudo is a coward. Even those close to him once looked at him with contempt, asserting Gudo running away is the act of a coward. The young master is too timid, that's why he ruins everything. Another acquaintance chimed in, "Isn't running away your special talent? Following you when you run is the safest thing to do." The image of a woman being captured crying out, "Gudo, save me," flashed back like a knife to his heart. Gudo kept running, while sobbing in resentment. "I'm tired," he shouted in desperation, wondering if anyone understood the weight of the word responsibility, or had ever stood in his shoes. Although he was a cowardly leader unable to bear his burdens deep down, he still yearned to protect those who mattered. Gudo used all his remaining strength to shove open the door in front of him. He screamed through his tears, "Of course I do. Please save me." The Count collapsed, sobbing, "Big brother, I'm sorry, I was wrong." Jim was his truth, his reason for living. Before the indifferent gaze of Han Sun and the army of Muscle, Gudo pleaded earnestly, "You can kill me if you want, but please save the people. My soldiers, please save our country." The old man collapsed, sobbing uncontrollably amidst the circle of muscle-bound warriors. Gudo kept bowing his head, desperate. "Please, I'm begging you, save me, hick hick. I'm begging you, please." Han San looked down at the man crumbling at his feet and calmly concluded, "So in short, you're looking to hit the gym, right?" Gudo looked up, dazed and confused. Flexing his rippling shoulder muscles, Han San declared, "Gudo, I don't need your life, but personal training fees are going to be expensive." He flashed a confident grin, his massive muscular army standing behind him. A group of soldiers hurried over to Han San pleading, "Sir Han San, we want to join too." But Han San immediately barked back, decisive and firm, "Beginners, stay back." He flatly refused help from anyone whose total lifting capacity was under 400 kilograms, declaring them banned from participating in this battle. Han San and his muscular army strode forward, leaving everyone watching in awe. Behind them, Gudo broke into a cold sweat, thinking to himself, "They look like total idiots," but, looking at their brawny backs radiating a strange shimmering aura, he couldn't help but wonder, why do they look so cool? Han Son led the troop through the streets, their rhythmic counting echoing, 13, 14, 15, 16. He pointed forward, confirming, "The straight path to the city gate is this way, right," realizing the situation was critical. Han Sun commanded, "We're switching to interval training." The whole army answered in unison, "Yes, sir." They began to accelerate at a terrifying pace, the counting continuing with every step. Their feet stomped in unison. 28, 29, 30. Han Sun roared, ordering the team to maintain high intensity for 1 minute and 30 seconds. The muscular army lunged forward with all their might, like arrows shot at breakneck speed. Even though they were panting, tongues hanging out, drenched in sweat, and breathing heavily, they didn't slow down. Witnessing this horrifying spectacle, those standing by the side of the road could only gasp in shock. They're insanely fast. The muscular army surged forward, leaving a cloud of dust behind. Amidst the ruins, a mother was clutching her small child tightly as they were surrounded by bloodthirsty zombies. The child cried out in desperation, "Mommy!" Instantly, a heavy strike and a shout of "Press!" exploded, crushing the monsters in the blink of an eye. The child stared blankly at the saviors who had just appeared, then calmed down. "Mom, it's okay. They saved us." The mother looked on, stunned by these strange heroes. She could only watch in shock as Han Sun and his muscular army continued running while obsessively counting their reps. 16-17. The young boy asked excitedly, "Mom, if I learn swordsmanship, can I be that strong too?" The mother watched the moving masses of muscle and broke into a cold sweat. She replied, "Sweetie, that's not swordsmanship. Let's ask them what that technique is after the war ends." Up ahead at the city gate, the situation was pure chaos as a sea of zombies attacked wildly. At that very moment, Han Sun's Hawk-Eye Level 3 skill was officially activated, helping him see everything clearly. Looking at the screaming zombies, Han Sun wondered, "Zombies. Why do they keep screaming while they charge?" He clicked his tongue and remarked, with a professional air, "These guys are all skin and bones. They've probably never even heard of a weight room." A team member explained with difficulty, "Sir, that's because they're called zombies." Seeing his junior speaking while hunched over from fatigue, Han Sun immediately reminded him, "Hey, keep your back straight even when resting or you'll ruin your spine." Truly the most dedicated personal trainer in the universe. The guy hurried to obey, then continued explaining that these zombies had no intelligence, only the primal instinct to feed, and they were essentially walking corpses. Hearing this, a look of relief washed over Han Sun's face. "Oh, thank goodness. Then I don't have to feel guilty about taking them down." The man beside him panted and asked, "Sir Han Sun, what do you want us to do next?" Observing the zombies swarming toward the gate, Han Sun calmly offered a shocking suggestion. "How about we use our pectorals to push them all away?" Faced with the stunned silence of the others, Han Sun snapped, "What's with that look?" The guy fearfully waved his hands. Frantically, "No, sorry sir, that's a brilliant plan." Han Sun laughed heartily. "Exactly." He immediately turned to ask for an opinion. "So can I take command of this operation?" Faced with Han Sun's determination, "Do it." Instantly orders were barked out. A member of the muscular army shouted, "All units disperse, Team 1 and Team 2 spread out through the village quickly to protect the citizens." He continued coordinating the forces. Team 3 and Team 4 get up to the city walls. The members coordinated smoothly, supporting the regular soldiers while fighting off the zombies. Team 5 supports Sir Han Sun in pushing the zombies off the city wall. At the gate, Han Sun was using his terrifying muscular strength to single-handedly hold back an entire sea of zombies pouring in. Witnessing this impossible sight, those nearby could only stand with their mouths agape. Whoa, how is he even doing that? However, the situation remained extremely tense. Gudo yelled out orders, "Quick, block the city gate." He anxiously analyzed, even if Sir Han Sun pushes back, the enemies. If they slip through the gaps, the village will be in danger. Gudo urged them on in desperation. "Please, you must block the gate. Hearing this, Lumi shouted a report. "Count the city gate has been completely destroyed." She pointed to the gaping entrance where Han San was straining to hold the line. "There are no doors left, to block the entrance anymore." Gudo gasped in shock. "It can't be." Just then, a confident voice rang out. "I knew this would happen." The sound of heavy footsteps shaking the ground echoed. They were carrying a giant metal object shaped like a dumbbell, engraved with the name Han Son, heading toward the gate. Gudo was stunned to recognize a familiar face. That weak kid back then. He's built up this much muscle now. Lumi couldn't believe. Her eyes. How can they lift something like that? Amidst the chaotic battlefield, Han San casually performed a walking lunge. A member straining to carry the weight shouted, "Block it! You go ahead!" The swordsman, drenched in sweat and breathing heavily, asked in bewilderment, What is happening right now?" He gritted his teeth in pain. "My quadriceps are completely worn out. My legs can't move anymore." "Don't give up, senior. You can definitely do it." A member of the muscular army spoke up. "I know how much you care about the health of our seniors, but if you train too hard and go past your limits, you could get injured." He trembled as he warned, "Don't save me. I'd rather die than be jacked and quit training." He collapsed to the ground, helpless. Watching this scene, Gudo screamed in pain. "Senior, it's not like that." Gudo gritted his teeth. "How can the others lift this thing?" His vision began to blur from exhaustion, but when he saw the silhouette of Han San single-handedly holding his ground against the sea of corpses, "Can the others even lift this?" His vision started to blur from pure exhaustion, but then he caught sight of Hansen holding off a sea of monsters all by himself. Guro awoke from his trance at the gate, realizing they could actually lift it. He shouted, "Support team, move out! Assist Guro now!" He roared, ordering the 5th unit to provide cover for the Bell defense team. The Bell team rushed to block the gate. The massive warm stone block, radiating a brilliant purple energy, began to move toward the entrance under their heavy steps. "Heave!" Guro bellowed, pouring every ounce of his remaining strength into pushing the metal block forward. From above, voices cheered, urging them on. "Keep pushing!" The entire Bell team shouted in unison, full of resolve. "We can move this massive weight." As they pushed it to the spot where Han San stood ready to fill the gap in the gate with unwavering faith and willpower, they screamed, "We can do it!" Guro gritted his teeth, sweat pouring down his breathing, becoming labored. The effort of bearing such immense weight was crushing. They moved carefully, one step at a time, whispering to each other, "Careful, be careful," until the multi-ton weight was finally set in its proper place, forming a solid shield to block out the sea of undead outside. Seeing his subordinates' efforts, Han San smiled with satisfaction. He looked at the exhausted Guro and remarked, "Valuing your training gear, good lad." That praise from their leader was like an energy boost, making the muscle-bound brothers erupt in happiness. "The wall is blocked. Bell team, take a rest." Immediately, another leader pointed. Jordan roared, "Coordinate the forces, except for units 1 and 2. Everyone else push back the zombies on Han San's behalf." The muscle army surged forward, their heavy footsteps thundering across the ramparts as they dove into battle. They charged straight into the horde, using pure physical strength to sweep the enemies away. Mighty hands grabbed and pushed the monsters back with ease, forming an unshakable wall of muscle. A warrior, while straining against the zombies, turned back and asked, "Is this the right way to do it?" Han San watched the battlefield calmly and advised, "Put a little more power into your glutes. You've got to maintain your form even while fighting." The muscle army shouted back in unison, "Yes, sir." The burly men easily knocked down and tossed the monsters away like toys. Watching from above, Guro panicked and yelled, "No, if you get bitten by a zombie." He worriedly warned them they would be turned into undead instantly. Suddenly, seeing a member attacked on the shoulder, a muscle warrior stopped dead in his tracks. His eyes glowed with a threatening red hue. His teeth clamped shut and his whole body shook violently, as if undergoing a terrifying transformation. He threw his head back and let out a resounding roar with bright red veins popping out all over his powerful physique. Yet the comrade beside him casually remarked, "Stop faking being infected just to be lazy. We were the Andes tribe from the start, remember?" The guy immediately went back to normal. Heh, is that so? Watching this clumsy act, Lumi just stood there speechless. Lumi looked down with a weary expression and muttered, "They've really got to be joking." Below, the members of the muscle army were still laughing and having fun, even teasing each other about pretending to turn into zombies. Just then, the zombie horde went crazy and lunged forward screeching. Han-sun quietly stepped to the front facing the bloodthirsty monsters. One zombie suddenly lunged, sinking its teeth into his shoulder. Han-sun's face darkened, and his killing intent began to radiate with intense pressure. Han-sun angrily growled, "You've gone and dirtied my muscles." Instantly, a golden burst of energy erupted from his body, blasting all the surrounding zombies away in a split second. From afar, Ben watched this unbelievable scene in shock, wondering, what on earth is that? He sat on the hill squinting to analyze the situation. They look like half humans and monsters, but why are they helping the humans? Ben covered his mouth and let out a wicked laugh. "This is fun. So some muscle-brained lunatics have appeared, huh?" Ben pointed toward the gate and coldly ordered his minions, "Tear them apart." The monsters, with their razor-sharp teeth and eyes glowing in the darkness, began their frenzied rampage. A soldier only had time to watch in amazement as massive beams of energy swept through. He shouted bitterly, "This is General Ivan's attack." Han-sun observed with cold eyes as another purple beam of light shot past. That was the attack from General Ox, who had been completely transformed. The ferocious monsters dove in to tear at them, creating a scene of total chaos. Guro scrambled away and yelled, "Out of the way, move!" Seeing Han-sun's silhouette, he hurriedly grabbed the rampart and screamed, pointing, "Han-sun Nim, he's all over there." Guro pointed toward a distant tree, insisting that the person there was the mastermind behind it all. However, among the muscle army, that was packed tightly. Han-sun's view was blocked, so he couldn't see a thing. Guro kept shouting directions. "Just go straight, just keep going straight. There'll be a blue-haired guy there." Han-sun smiled confidently and replied, "Got it." He turned to instruct his subordinates, "I'm going to give that blue-haired guy some advice. You guys keep training while I'm gone." A member of the muscle army answered loudly, "Yes, sir, we can do it." Han-sun's face turned serious immediately. He clenched his fists, radiating intense killing intent, and muttered, "Good." Then Han-sun suddenly unleashed the reverse big dick fly technique. With earth-shattering power, his swinging arms created continuous afterimages at extreme speeds, leaving Guro breathless as he choked out, This is a miracle. A miracle is happening." A wave of immense pressure from Han-sun's move wiped out the entire zombie legion and the surrounding rubble in an instant, leaving a barren space before the sheer astonishment of Guro. Far away, Ben was sitting leisurely under a tree with a mysterious figure. He clicked his tongue in disdain. "These guys, those guys, they're all just a bunch of useless trash." Evil people love to lecture, it seems. Ben showed signs of nervousness, sweat streaming down as he bit his glove, and asked his companion, "Isn't that right, Elise?" Elise stood quietly under the tree, merely nodding in response. Ben showed visible annoyance. This unexpected variable forced him to step out himself. He lazily walked away from his place of hiding, prepared to confront him. At that same moment, Han-sun, with his rippling muscles, was also striding toward them. Two rivals faced each other directly in the middle of the battlefield. The atmosphere became incredibly tense. Han-sun flexed, showing off his massive back muscles as he walked with power. Realizing the pressure from his opponent, Ben immediately unleashed his dark power, transforming his body into a pitch-black monster with glowing yellow eyes and sharp horns. Han-sun didn't flinch. He began to accelerate, putting all his strength into his legs and tearing through the wind. A collision of earth-shattering proportions erupted in the center of the battlefield. The two grabbed each other, using pure physical strength to overpower the other in a ruthless clash. Han San's eyes flared, with killing intent. Through the red dusty smoke, his face showed clear determination to destroy his enemy. Opposite him was Ben's twisted, ferocious face in his monstrous form. He bared, his teeth in a wild grin. Han San and Ben strained against each other in the breathtaking struggle. The ground beneath them cracked from the unbelievable pressure. Ben gritted his teeth and held on. Struggling but completely overwhelmed by his opponent's superhuman physical strength, Hansen roars in fury. "How dare you touch my VIP client? You're a dead man!" He uses his massive hands to crush him. He locks onto Ben's arms, leaving him completely unable to fight back. In agonizing pain, Ben gasps out, "Grandmaster Hansen, no!" Without giving his opponent a moment to breathe, he grabs Ben tight and bellows, "So it was you, the blue-haired punk who loves causing trouble." Instantly, he lifts the monster up and slams him straight into the ground. With force like a mountain crashing down, Ben's eyes widen, his mouth agape in absolute shock and extreme pain. Hansen follows up with a lethal blow, pinning Ben's head deep into the crater he just created. Pinioned against the ground, Ben wheezes in terror. "Ugh! What kind of strength is this?" He struggles wildly and screams, "Let go, you bastard!" Standing tall with glowing red eyes, Hansen coolly asks, "Are you finished yet?" He looks down at his thrashing enemy and declares, "Now it's my turn." Hansen pins Ben down and activates a technique called Mountain Climber. Hansen's rapid heavy stomps create earth-shattering explosions, tearing the ground into a deep, jagged trench that stretches far into the distance. Elise quietly observes the battle with an expressionless face. Meanwhile, across the battlefield, the muscle core and the soldiers are frantically wiping out the remaining monsters. Slashes and powerful punches echo continuously, clearing away the legion of undead. Watching from afar, Elise assesses the situation. Ben is in real trouble. Instantly, a cold command is issued. To eliminate the dangerous element, it darts forward, crossing forests with terrifying speed to provide reinforcements. A girl with long brown hair suddenly appears. She uses her sword to block the assassin machine's attack. The stranger asks coldly, "Who are you?" The girl replies clearly, "Look closely. I am of the Leon bloodline. I'm not easily bullied." Metallic clashing sounds ring out continuously as the two engage in a high-speed sword fight witnessed by a snarling black wolf. The robot machine orders its minions, "Go to Ben." Then it immediately speeds off, tearing through the wind. Lai smirks and challenges, "You think you can stop me with that level of swordsmanship?" The machine replies matter-of-factly, "Sword data uploaded. Opponent has no chance of winning." It begins spinning its blades at maximum speed, creating a violent whirlwind of attacks that surrounds Lai. At another corner of the battlefield, a member of the muscle core with glowing pink arms shouts, "Pull now." The group exerts all their strength, pulling taut a massive energy cable, attached to a purple weight block. When the tension reaches its limit, the shout goes up, "Now release." The massive energy block is fired at incredible velocity. The technique, named Heavy Blunt 1/10, is officially activated, turning the weight block into a purple fireball streaking across the sky. Below, both the kingdom's soldiers and the muscle core look up in terror as a purple glow engulfs everything. Suddenly, the sphere explodes into a series of lethal light beams raining down on the ground. The horrific impacts create pillars of fire high as skyscrapers, wiping out the enemy legion in the blink of an eye. Amidst the dusty battlefield, the members of the muscle core quickly coordinate their forces. One points and yells, "Reload! Quickly!" The next command is clearly given, "Squad 1, check if there are any zombies left in the village." While one group focuses on protecting and supporting the people inside the fortified walls, the rallying cry rings out again, full of spirit. "Practice time's over. Move to combat training exercises immediately. Everyone, the warrior, Muscle Core charges into the middle of the undead horde, using steel-like fists to crush all resistance. Watching this rhythmic coordination, Gudo stands stunned, secretly thinking, "I thought they were just idiots. I didn't know I was traveling with legends." It felt as if he were watching the entire flow of the battle from above. Gudo remembers his grandfather's story about a legend. From ancient times that among the monsters, there was once a brilliant strategist who stood on the side of humanity. The hero of the Fourth Demon World War looks at Gudo's back. Gudo is shocked and wonders why that name is popping into his head right now. Meanwhile, at the center of the ruins, Hansen uses his abdominal muscles to lock down his opponent's attack, leaving Ben stunned. No, not understanding what is happening. Ben struggles, but realizes Hansen's hand is like a steel vice gripping him tight. He absolutely cannot escape. A resounding bark cuts through the air. Right after that comes the appearance of a technique called Bone Nado. This is an advanced technique of Betamin, a perfect blend of wind magic and necromancy. Filled with dark energy, the bones spin in a vortex with a frightening hardness no different from refined steel. This brutal attack is powerful enough to crush anyone's skull without protective gear in an instant. However, when faced with Hansen's iron body, this bone vortex is nothing more than a gentle, pathetic rain of scrap metal. When his ultimate technique is ignored, the wolf Bedoman can only whimper in disappointment, but it immediately perks up upon hearing the cheer, "Well done, Bedamin." Ben is being choked by Hansen to the point his eyes are rolling back and he's foaming at the mouth. In his extreme pain, he decides to use his last resort. A series of syringes containing a strange blue liquid are jammed straight into his bulging biceps. Ben grits his teeth and threatens, "Everything that happens next is on you," a blatant performance of doping in the middle of battle. Hansen keeps a calm face. He is confident that even if his opponent becomes stronger, they will never be able to overcome the grip of his hands. Suddenly, a hand from behind reaches out and grabs Hansen's shoulder, making him startle in surprise. Ben's phantom, with glowing eyes and a sinister smile, whispers right in his ear, "You think so?" A collision of earth-shattering proportions erupts. Hansen is sent flying into the sky by his opponent. Ben's insane laughter rings out again. Ha 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 ha! A series of energy beams begin firing repeatedly, crisscrossing at dizzying speeds. Ben triumphantly shouts, "You can't even keep up with your eyes, can you, ha-ha?" The lethal streams of light continuously sweep across and shred the ground around Hansen's position. Standing at the center of the attack, Hansen remains calm, thinking about muscle contraction. He analyzes the fiber characteristics of skeletal muscle as the light beams continuously explode around him. Ben roars in fury, I didn't want to use this move." "Why, Leon? Why do you interfere in other people's business only to bring death upon yourself?" Ignoring the threats, Hansen continues his internal lecture about how muscles are divided into white muscle and red muscle, where red muscle plays the role of storing oxygen to ensure performance. Amidst the rain of energy fire, Hansen exerts force to tighten his abs and thighs clearly, shouting the name of the technique, abdomino-enhanced pose, using the six-pack to stop the apocalypse. High myoglobin content gives the muscles their characteristic red color, helping to slow down muscle fatigue. Slowly, Hansen immediately shows off pose number 5, causing his entire back muscle mass to bulge and ripple. Even though this red muscle type has advantages in endurance, the contraction speed isn't that fast. On the contrary, how do white muscle fibers differ from red ones? Ben began to feel uneasy as his attacks seemed to have no effect at all. "What's up with this guy?" he wondered. "I've punched him until my arms are tired, so why is he still standing there, tensing up?" Hansen stood tall, with a grim, intense expression, his eyes glowing fiercely in the darkness. White muscle fibers may have low myoglobin content, leading to quick fatigue, but in return, their contraction speed is vastly superior, he thought, while in his monstrous form. Hiding in the trees, he gritted his teeth, deciding that if his attacks weren't working, he had to hit harder. He lunged down madly, intent on just brute-forcing his way through. A terrifying collision erupted right in the middle. Hansen's body, yet amidst the brutal rain of blows, Hansen had realized the only way to win this fight. It was to endure every single one of his opponent's attacks. Hansen gritted his teeth tightly and struck a pose called side chest, flexing every muscle fiber despite the rays of energy continuously colliding and exploding against his body. Hansen patiently waited for his opponent to exhaust himself, knowing this was truly a battle of endurance. However, at this moment, Hansen was still unaware of the truth. Ben's body was not created naturally at all. The syringes lying scattered on the ground were proof of this twisted mutation. Seeing the pitch-black entity with glowing red eyes in front of him, Hansen gasped, "Ben!" Ben had completely lost his humanity. He opened his mouth and laughed. Crazily, ha ha ha, revealing rows of terrifyingly sharp teeth. Hansen unleashed a massive, incredibly powerful press move, creating a cataclysmic explosion that shattered the ground under the weight of 1,000 pounds, proving this unimaginable strength. Ben, in his monster form, was so shocked that his pupils constricted. He terrifiedly stammered, "What kind of punch is that? It just wiped the whole map." Sweat dripped down his twisted face. He gritted his teeth desperately, trying to hold on. Realizing the massive gap in power, Ben told himself he must absolutely avoid a direct strength contest with Hansen. Hansen smirked with complete confidence, nonchalantly explaining that even if muscle fibers are superior, controlling the nervous system under such extreme pressure remains an incredibly difficult task. Hansen's entire body suddenly blazed with a fiery red glow. He flexed, showing off his rippling muscles, and admitted that even he himself wasn't yet fully accustomed to his body's constant changes. At that moment, the enemy's blue beams of light kept zipping around Hansen at dizzying speeds, but he stood firm as a rock, nonchalantly asking, "When will this nimble guy ever get tired?" Meanwhile, in another corner of the battlefield, the giant monster Farron was madly sweeping through the soldiers with powerful swipes. Metallic clashing sounds rang out incessantly as it suddenly spun its arms like a giant pinwheel, creating a whirlwind that crushed and threw aside everything in the human army's path. The monster stomped through the ruins, its glowing red eyes looking down at the defeated as it spoke with contempt. "Weak as snails, spun around a few times and they're already wiped out." Despite that horrific dominance, a young warrior stood his ground bravely. He faced death and calmly confessed, "I know we're weaker than you." But his gaze suddenly turned ice cold. He gripped his sword tightly and shouted with determination, "But our power of friendship is different." The young man shouted confidently, "I'm much stronger than a guy like you." Immediately, a surge of blue combat aura and sword energy radiated powerfully from the blade. He flashed a smug smile, but that smile quickly vanished as his face twisted in shock. A massive impact sent him flying, accompanied by a painful scream. "Stop showing off your pink sword!" Immediately, a blinding purple-hued demonic sword wave was unleashed. The monster nonchalantly remarked, "Too slow." To the opponent's horror, the giant sword tore through the air. Due to the massive momentum, the attack couldn't be stopped. It struck directly toward the body of the one lying on the ground. The blade stopped just inches from Draper's face. He breathed a sigh of relief. "Am I strong?" A cold voice replied, "Weak." A giant shadow with glowing red eyes radiated an overwhelming killing intent, covering the scene. But the monster hadn't even done anything yet before it was blown away. Everyone on the battlefield stood there dazed, not understanding what was happening. Hansen sauntered out from the dust, nonchalantly spat, and remarked, "Wow, you're training pretty heavy. Huh, are you here to fight, or are you at the gym, bro?" The story shifts to a small village on a remote frontier. Amidst the peaceful scene by the cliffs and the river, a man in a cloak rushed up the stairs, constantly calling out to the general with a look of extreme panic. He used all his might to push open the door of the room ahead. Seeing the man suddenly barge in, the general with a toned physique, was sitting at the dining table and calmly asked, "Barging into a lady's room without knocking is a bit lacking in tact, don't you think?" She didn't forget to tease him, leaving the village chief frozen in shock. The village chief, drenched in sweat, shouted that there was no time for joking and announced some extremely shocking news that had occurred in the White Kingdom. General Leon told him to calm down and sarcastically noted that he was only 40, yet he was already out of breath. The village chief slammed his hand on the table and yelled, "A swarm of zombies is attacking the White Kingdom." He implored, "We really need the general's power." Hearing this, Leon burst into loud laughter. She nonchalantly assumed that the army could handle something like that on their own and continued eating. However, when the village chief revealed the one behind the zombies was Ben, Leon's movements instantly stopped. Her eyes turned ice cold as she repeated the name, Ben. Leon chuckled softly, revealing her back with rippling, powerful muscles. "Ha ha ha." The female general's hearty laughter echoed throughout the room. The officer standing nearby, wiping his brow worriedly, blurted out, "General, now is not the time to laugh." Leon smiled mysteriously. "If I don't laugh now, when would I?" Ben, you really walked into a hornet's nest. Before the confused look of her subordinate, Leon held up 2 fingers and asserted, "Currently, the White Kingdom has 2 solid shields. One is a reliable ally named Hansen, a man who is using extraordinary muscular strength to crush the enemy with just one powerful punch. And the second shield is my beloved niece, the #1 hope of the continent." She glided by with terrifying speed, then immediately shifted into a predatory eagle-style crunch pose. Her golden eyes glinted with a dangerous icy edge. Les was born from the dark era of the continent, when wars broke out incessantly. Because they were too lazy to exercise, the elf tribe was almost wiped off the map. To help them, a human doctor named Joseph Les researched and spread a training method incorporating meditation specifically for the elves. However, Les at this point had gone far beyond the framework of a simple exercise routine. It had been applied as a peak combat technique. During her time in the elf forest, Les had diligently trained in this martial art. Every move of hers exuded grace with point-and-flow techniques that left her opponent stunned as she gently landed, standing on his weapon in just a blink. 7 years have passed, and she has completely mastered this technique. Making it her own, she launches herself into the air, unleashing a brisk chop with terrifying power, coldly declaring her existence to the enemy before her. "I will wipe you out." A massive surge of energy erupts, aimed straight at the target, with LA continuously shifting through zone back and zone level techniques, completely overwhelming the enemy, leaving them frozen in shock. She coldly declares to her opponent, "You are no match for me," to the utter astonishment of her opponent. The robot machine stubbornly retorts, "It's not over yet." Broken machine, but still running its mouth. Lai immediately begins the Circle Dixon technique, spinning her blades into a whirlwind of continuous attacks. The sound of clashing metal rings out constantly as they both plunge into a breathtaking duel. While fighting, Lai nonchalantly mocks, "Keep spinning, you'll be just like a washing machine," while watching the robot frantically unleash a series of razor-sharp blades surrounding Lai from all sides. A heaven-shaking collision erupts immediately after, as 2 forces clash head-on. Lai activates a battle aura called Powerhouse. She raises her sword, which is burning with golden flames, looking at the robot opponent struggling with its bulky weapons. She sneers, "What now? Looks like having too many arms is throwing you off balance." The robot trembles in helplessness against the terrifying pressure from the other side. Lai coldly declares, "This ends here," and unleashes a powerful hyperextension, blowing the opponent away in a blinding flash. Amidst the smoke and dust, Han Son, though his breath is labored and weary, still stands as firm as a rock, making his enemy marvel and wonder. At this point, he should be exhausted, right? Ben cannot believe his eyes, because according to his calculations, there should clearly be an overwhelming difference in power. He moves frantically at maximum speed, creating streaks of light that surround Han. sun from all directions. Witnessing the opponent's incredible endurance, Han Sun also begins to wonder, why isn't he tired yet? Ben grinds his teeth in resentment as he sees all his attacks are useless. Why? Why is there no difference at all? Like this? Ben screams in absolute madness. What the hell is that body made of anyway? Forming a web of traps to surround Han Sun, Ben lunges forward with glowing, murderous eyes roaring. I keep hitting you, and you won't fall. Are you human or made of iron? Han Sun immediately retorts firmly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Ben attacks crazily, revealing that the drug he just took was specially formulated to target Leon, granting him a massive source of dark energy. Ben asserts that his current power has reached a level that can rival an elder dragon. He lunges straight down from above like an arrow aimed at Han Sun. However, Han Sun only roars arrogantly, maybe it's just because I've been training harder. Ben writhes in pain as the drug's side effects begin to kick in. He gasps, side effects already. Hurry, give me the antidote. The consequences of using bootleg steroids. Han Sun watches from afar as the opponent's body deforms into a bruised, swollen mass of flesh with bulging veins. He calmly approaches and wonders, are you planning to change your physique to create some kind of stimulation this time? Before him now is a gigantic, grotesque creature with yellow fluid leaking from its mouth and glowing, sickly eyes. Suddenly, the monster vomits up a large amount of disgusting yellow-green liquid covering the entire area. Han Sun looks at the scene and asks, nutritional imbalance. Or do you have gout? A system notification immediately pops up asserting, that's not it. From the pool of slime, the gaunt figure of Ben gradually emerges looking frail. He trembles and can only plead in his mind, quick, inject me. Wait, why do I have to fight? Against that monster. He looks up at Han Sun with teary yellowish eyes and weakly suggests, let's just stop this. Ben continues to moan in despair. Fighting is so tiring. Why don't we go grab a coffee, especially in a world as beautiful as this? Han Sun crosses his arms, his face darkening with intense pressure, and replies, I don't want to fight either, but you're the one who started it all. His murderous intent begins to flare. Han Sun grinds his teeth and roars, do you know that because of you so many people who just started couldn't even go to the gym? The greatest crime of all, banning gym workouts. Facing Han Sun's terrifying expression, Ben is scared to death. He cries bitterly while begging, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Why did I do those things? Please stop looking at me with that scary face. Ben collapses into the pool of slime, sobbing and muttering, I just wanted to save Elise. Han Sun silently approaches and softly repeats the name full of doubt. Elise, Ben whispers a confirmation. Yes, Elise. In his memories, the image of a black crow perched on a wooden post returns hauntingly. Elise was dead. She was tied tightly to a high pole as the crowd watched indifferently. The unceasing pain of loss has turned into a burning fire of hatred. Ben roars, revenge! I came here for revenge! His face deforms into a crazed smile. His trembling hand holds up the syringe containing the glowing blue liquid, and he mumbles, this drug is very painful. It makes my mind go insane. That's the problem. He screams with fury at his opponent. A little more, and I would have felt pity and decided to forgive you. Without a moment's hesitation, Ben plunges the needle into his chest, forcing all the dangerous medicine into his body. He grinds his teeth, determined to take the last dose and send you off to the afterlife. Ben's body explodes with a heaven-shaking dark energy, turning him into a giant monster with razor-sharp teeth and glowing red eyes filled with murderous intent. I will end this, once and for all. A blinding flash of light suddenly erupts in the deep forest, creating a violent, shocking explosion that makes everyone stagger and cover their eyes. Amidst that light, the silhouette of Elise suddenly appears, floating, leaving Ben stunned as he gasps in longing, Elise. The story flows back in time to 32 years ago in the kingdom of Gudo. Under the sunlight, a young man is engrossed in practicing swordsmanship with a wooden dummy. The sound of clashing rings out rhythmically. That is Gudo at 17, while his best friend Ben sits relaxed on a bench with a book in his hand. Gudo. Why is our people's magic so weak? Gudo, while swinging his sword with decisive strikes, replies curtly, "Even those things. I have to be the one to know." Ben smiles gently, reminding him that because Gudo will inherit the kingdom, he needs to understand these things clearly. Even though Gudo says he doesn't want to hear it, he understands his friend's personality all too well, so he grumbles while practicing. "Even if I say I don't want to hear it, you'll still talk anyway, won't you?" After an intense training session, Gudo stopped to lean against his wooden sword, gasping for air. "Okay, that's enough. Now tell me," he said. Ben replied, enthusiastically agreeing. Ben began to explain that, unlike physical combat, magic is incredibly delicate. The stronger and more intense your emotions, the smoother your mana flows, he said, holding up a magic theory book and pointing out the core issue. The people of the Gudo nation are always constrained by rigid rules and care too much about what others think, leading them to suppress their true feelings. This suppression acts like ropes binding them, preventing mana from flowing and stopping their magic vessels from expanding. However, 17-year-old Gudo firmly insisted that magic is a witch's curse. Unlocking your own inner strength is the true spirit and identity of our people here. Ben teased him. "Whoa, that sounded like an old-fashioned politician." Gudo immediately lost his temper and threatened, "You want to die, huh?" Ben sat down on a chair, hugging the book tightly and muttering, "Instead of studying useless stuff like magic." He looked at the wooden sword on the ground and suggested, "It's been a while. How about a spar?" Gudo smiled and agreed. "Fine. Let me warm up a bit." Early birds often suffer bitter endings. The match began with the constant clashing of wooden swords. Both charged at each other dramatically. The match score was announced as a lopsided 123-43. Just then, a girl appeared and called out, "Master Leon." She approached and began, scolding Ben. "You are always so impatient with your talent. Why are you like this?" Ben walked away, silently scratching his head and muttering, "These sword-swinging games are so boring. I'm going to study." The female master smiled and explained, "That's because you haven't reached that level yet. You have no idea how exciting it can be." She turned her gaze toward Gudo and advised, "You should learn from Gudo. Look at how he's enjoying himself." As she spoke, she tapped Gudo's chest to encourage him, but Gudo thought to himself, "I don't find swordplay interesting at all." Ben turned back to look at his master and stated, "I'm just practicing for fun. I know I'm mediocre." To the surprise of Gudo, the master asked, "What did you just say?" Ben suddenly changed his attitude. He looked straight at the person in front of him with cold eyes and asked, "Who are you?" The purple-haired girl smiled and explained, "I came for this child, but I'm introducing myself a bit late." She proudly declared, "Today your training opponent is also my prized disciple, Elise." Elise appeared full of confidence with her white hair neatly braided and a bow staff in her hand. She tilted her head and smiled brightly. "If it's you guys, I think even if you both attack at the same time, I'd still win." That remark made both boys flare up. One of them yelled, "What did you say, just a woman, and you dare to—" Gudo and his friend immediately took a stance to attack, but Elise changed her expression. She growled, "Like to discriminate based on gender, huh? Eat this stick." Elise lunged forward like a flash of lightning, raining down strikes in the shock of her two opponents. Those powerful blows landed repeatedly, leaving both of them wide-eyed and stunned, unable to counter. After the total beatdown, Gudo and his friend lay sprawled on the ground. "What the? She's terrifyingly strong. From today on, no more calling people women." Gudo begrudgingly agreed, "Yeah." Looking at Elise's retreating figure, the other guy thought, "Elise, she's completely different from those fake nobles." He watched silently and felt a simple yet powerful attraction to this girl. In his mind, Elise's bright smile appeared, and she's pretty too. Under the sunset, he turned to his friend and said, "Gudo, I have a dream." Gudo asked blankly, "What dream?" The guy confidently declared, "I'm going to marry Elise." Gudo jumped in shock and shouted in amazement, "What?" The guy just looked back calmly and asked, "Why? Are you so surprised?" Gudo replied to his friend's declaration, "It's not that it's just so sudden. As weak as you are, Elise wouldn't give you the time of day. Look, your swordsmanship skills are terrible, so give it up, Ben." But the teenager was still determined. "From now on, I will practice swordsmanship seriously." Both dove into non-stop training sessions. Time passed. Their confrontations happened continuously. Ben improved more and more, and his efforts were rewarded with his first victory. Seeing Elise standing nearby, he asked, "Are you really not planning to join the competition?" Gudo hung his head in silence, looking at the sword lying lonely on the ground and the backs of his two friends. Leaving, Gudo thought, "I want to go with you guys too." But when facing them, he forced a smile. "Yeah, I'm just too busy with work, so I can't go." Immediately after came the fury of his father. He roared, "I let you train in swordsmanship, yet you couldn't even beat that lowlife." The sound of him slamming the table echoed through the main hall. Gudo could only stand submissively taking the heat. He whispered in disappointment, "Father, perhaps I have no talent for swords. Manship. I don't want to hear it anymore." A cup flew straight at Gudo's head, injuring him. Count Leonard Gudo looked at his only child with contempt. "My only child, and yet you're this useless." Gudo trembled, bowing his head to apologize. "I'm sorry, father, my lord." In the pouring rain, Gudo sat, alone on the high city wall, silently looking down at the waterfall. Amidst his extreme despair, a soldier approached Gudo and reminded him, "You'll catch a cold if you sit here like this, Lord Gudo." Gudo replied wearily, "I'm fine, leave me alone." Suddenly, Elise rushed from behind, hugging his neck tightly and shouting, "What do you mean you're fine?" Gudo was startled and gasped, "Elise!" The girl snapped, "You look like you're about to die, and you still say you're fine." Elise didn't hesitate, grabbing Gudo and dragging him along. "You really don't know how to enjoy life. Come with me, young master." Gudo could only mumble as he followed helplessly. Watching Elise always radiating smiles through the city, Gudo wondered to himself, why can this girl always smile like that? Watching her excitedly try on new dresses, Gudo blushed, thinking, is meeting me that happy for her? She must be into me. For sure that Ben guy doesn't stand a chance. He told himself with full determination, if that's the case, I'm confident I will love her more than anyone else in the world. At the military training ground, Gudo accidentally overheard the soldiers gossiping, "Did you hear Ben confessed?" to Elise and got rejected. Another person asked in surprise, "Aren't they dating?" Hearing the news that Ben got dumped, Gudo was stunned, but a glimmer of hope sparked in his heart. So that means I still have a chance. He was sure that Elise had feelings for him too, so he ran frantically through the streets, screaming in his heart, "Elise, I like you. No, I love you." Gudo threw caution to the wind. He told himself, even with his father's oppression, even if he had to leave his family, love makes you go crazy. With his mind only fixed on his beloved, he vowed, "I will only look at you. I will make you happy." Gudo stopped in front of a room, breathing heavily from exhaustion and anticipation. He reached out to pull back the curtain, his heart pounding, preparing to face the person of his dreams. Gudo swallowed hard with tension and peeked inside, but the sight before him left him completely frozen. Gudo's face twisted in horror and tears. Tears rolled down his cheeks as he breathlessly called out her name. The night before, under a starlit sky, Ben had clutched Elise's hand in anguish, pleading, "Elise, why are you refusing me? You said you had feelings for me too." With me? He desperately recalled his efforts, his voice catching. "I've been hitting the gym until I'm breathless, because you like six-pack abs. How could you just dump me?" Ben looked at Elise with begging eyes. "Don't do this. Please think about it one more time." Suddenly, Ben's eyes widened in shock as he watched a brilliant blue light begin to envelop Elise's body. She hovered in mid-air, radiating a surge of energy. "Magic," she confessed, pouring out her heart. "I've possessed a body overflowing with mana since I was born." Elise looked at her glowing hands, explaining that if too much mana accumulated, it would destroy her very being. That was why she was forced to find desolate places to release it. Elise's face was filled with sorrow as she thought of the future. "Right now, I'm secretly releasing mana to stay out of everyone's sight, but the day will come when this is exposed." She looked at Ben with a distant gaze and gave a bitter, sad smile. "I don't have the courage to make the person I cherish an accomplice." Ignoring the danger, Ben suddenly lunged forward. He pulled Elise into a tight embrace right in the middle of the surging energy. Elise shrieked in panic. "Careful, you'll get electrocuted. Why are you hugging me like that?" But as the only magic researcher in the kingdom of Guido, Ben remained steadfast, holding his beloved tight. His eyes burned with determination. "From this moment on, you're the only one who can solve your problems with my help." Ben held Elise close and vowed loudly, "I swear I will spend the rest of my life loving you." Amidst the shimmering glow of love and magic, Ben softly whispered her name, Elise. Behind the partially closed door, Guido witnessed the entire scene with a broken heart. Painful tears streamed down his face, distorted by despair. He gritted his teeth, enduring the seething resentment as he watched the girl he loved in the arms of another. Guido whispered Elise's name in vain, while Ben silently swore to do everything just to protect the only girl in his life. In Ben's memories, the beautiful days with Elise and the little dog were always filled with laughter. But for Guido, those were long nights drowned in alcohol secretly, standing behind a tree, watching Elise release her mana in solitude. Witnessing the woman he secretly loved being happy with someone else, Guido could only collapse and sob in front of an old photograph. However, that happiness didn't last long when Elise suddenly coughed up blood, staining her hand red. The female lead was in intense pain. Ben rushed over in a panic. "Elise, are you all right?" Amidst the rapid coughing and the barking of the dog, Elise tried to reassure him. Fine. My mana has just increased a bit lately, so it happens sometimes." She even forced a smile, teasing Ben about his poor swordsmanship to lighten the mood. But the look on Ben's face was one of absolute shock and fear. The fear of losing his beloved drove Ben to lock himself in the laboratory. He told himself, "Seeing you collapse, it felt like my world fell apart." Ben was determined to keep his promise to protect her. "I won't leave here until I find a way. I think it's time to keep my promise to you." He implored Elise, "Please hang in there just a little longer until the day I return with the life-saving cure." Ben began researching an enhancement compound he had just discovered. He hoped it would give him a chance to treat her so they could be together forever. But the cost was devastating, as terrifying mutated creatures began to appear from those insane experiments. Returning to reality, Guido stumbled toward Elise, bottle in hand, prompting her to ask, "Guido, why does the smell of alcohol have to be this strong here?" In his drunken state, Guido roared with resentment. "Didn't you like me too? We used to be so good and happy." Faced with that hysteria, Elise remained calm and bluntly replied, "I never had romantic feelings for you. I'm sorry if I made you misunderstand, but let's put that aside." She began to emit a glowing blue mana that covered her body and posed a harsh question. "Guido, even assuming we had been together, could you truly love someone who is forced to use magic and become a sinner like me. Elise looked at Guido with a gaze full of disappointment. She bitterly reproached him, saying that he knew her situation well, but chose to pretend otherwise. Guido, now holding the bottle, his face drenched in sweat, yelled in resentment. Back then, I was a coward. I had to drink to have the guts to say it. He intended to continue, but choking sobs and absolute terror took over his mind, leaving the Count only able to gasp and scream in despair. Seeing that his cowardice had not changed at all, Elise softly apologized and turned away, leaving Guido in painful, shameful silence. It seemed he was still very much afraid. Elise's words seemed to twist deep into Guido's old wounds. Old memories flooded back. Those were days of scorching drought with cracked earth leaving the people in misery. An angry crowd armed with torches and farm tools marched to the castle gates. They screamed, "My lord, come out and call for rain for us." Standing on the high wall looking down at the furious crowd, Guido's father coldly told his son to look closely at those he called the people. He nonchalantly admitted that while rain would be nice, he was no god and could not perform a miracle to make it rain. Guido, at that moment, could only bow his head helplessly, asking his father what he should do in such a situation. Instead of worrying, the old lord asked his son back if he really thought those people actually hated him. It's not that. What they need right now is a target to vent their anger, someone they can blame for everything. The Lord said this, while gritting his teeth, clenching his fist menacingly. He wore a gruesome smile and revealed he had found someone who would bear the crowd's wrath in his place. When Guido tremblingly asked, "Who is it?" his father's eyes suddenly bulged as he laughed manically and blurted out the name, "It's Elise, the one you confessed your love to." Guido was completely stunned. He stood frozen when his father placed a hand on his shoulder and thanked him sarcastically, saying that finally this useless son had been of some use to him. Count Leonard coldly told his son, "Thanks for snitching, boy, so father has a scapegoat for the people." Guido was shocked and resisted. "No, it can't be. How could you do that to the person I love?" Immediately, a thunderous slap sent Guido sprawling. His father barked, "You fool, the one who will rule this country cannot be swayed by personal feelings. Understand?" The Count pointed threateningly. "If I left it to you, you'd surely ruin it," he roared, ordering the soldiers, "Lock Guido in his room at once." At sunset, Guido secretly climbed the wall to escape, whispering to himself, "Father, I'm sorry. Even though it's your wish, I can't follow it this time." Guido hurried through the crowd thinking, "Even if she's a woman I can never have. Even though she's the kind of woman I could never have." But he didn't have the guts to just watch the person he loved die. Guido finally found the scene and roared, "Found her!" Elise saw Guido. Elise, held captive by the soldiers, she cried out in desperation. "Guido, save me!" Whispers erupted from the aggressive crowd. "Lord Guido, could he be the witch's accomplice?" Anger flared up intensely. They screamed, "Even if he's the Count's son, if he's an accomplice, he must be punished. That's right, destroy all those accomplices too." Under the terrifying pressure and the fiery glares of the mob, Guido panicked and pulled his hood down to hide his face. The most pathetic side character in history, ignoring the desperate cries for his name behind him, he turned and ran for his life, abandoning Elise. She stared after him with sad, utterly desperate eyes. Surrounded by those about to execute her, Ben cradled Elise's lifeless body. He howled in absolute agony as he lost his beloved. Her mementos shattered and fell just like his own broken heart. Back in the present, Ben in his monstrous form never stopped, howling in his madness. "No, Elise!" Hansen, with his hulking frame, lunged forward like an arrow. Ben roared with killing intent, "Get lost, you damn bastard!" Hansen didn't flinch. He channeled all his strength into his arm and unleashed a one-arm dumbbell press. Ben screamed in his crazed state, "Let go! He's begging in pain! Let go! Let go of me!" but Hansen remained cold and ruthless, pinning his enemy down so he couldn't resist leaving him slumped on the ground. Hansen clenched his massive fist, preparing for the next cable exercise. The light from his eyes blazed in the darkness as the move "boom over" was activated, creating a massive impact from above that shattered the ground, giving his opponent no chance to catch their breath. Hansen performed the cable push-down exercise with terrifying intensity, 15 reps per set for 10 sets straight, without any rest. The hammer-like blows landed one after another, leaving the scene completely devastated. After finishing the punishment, Hansen stood looking at his hands stained by the battle. He calmly dusted off his shoulders, his face returning to its calm composure, and muttered to himself, "Time to go wipe out the rest of the zombies, I guess." In the distance, a massive vortex of energy called a bonanado suddenly erupted, sweeping everything away in its path under the watchful gaze of a mysterious being in the shadows. Hansen looked toward the distance, clearly annoyed, and muttered, "That mutt again." Looking up at the sky, he asked with indifference, "Are you planning on taking your family with you?" Hansen smiled slightly and remarked, "Cute." Immediately, the vortex of bones and debris began to fly into the sky. Lai, with her fiery red hair, stood tall before the swirling vortex. That was Howling. Hearing a barking sound, she coldly turned her head and declared, "Take them if you want. I don't care about losers." Witnessing the scene, Gudo panicked and shouted, "No, don't! Let Ben leave like this." He screamed frantically in his desperation. "He'll come back for revenge. Lai, chase him. Destroy him at the root. If you don't, he'll come back. He and I." Lai muttered the Count's name. Gudo then suddenly drew her sword and took off. She roared with killing intent, "I'll kill you." Gudo stared blankly at the figure rushing toward him, worried. Why does it look like she's charging right at me? Get out of the way." With a furious expression and incredible speed, she closed in, shouting at Gudo, "You, how dare you do that to my base?" Gudo panicked and ran for his life, screaming and ordering his soldiers, "Stop her! Someone stop Lai for me!" A blonde girl standing nearby could only sigh in frustration as she watched the Count's back. "He's running away again." Suddenly, 2 members of the Muscle Army appeared, swinging their swords to block the path, advising, "Junior sister, Lai, stop. It's best if you just stop." Lai didn't flinch. She leaped over their heads and asserted, "You brothers can't stop me," even though she knew that she didn't slow down. Sometimes one is forced to take action. She performed a tabletop pose to maintain perfect balance in midair. Immediately after, she lowered her center of gravity with a stacking arm spin technique, funneling all her energy into her legs before performing an explosive extension. Lai glided as smoothly as a stream, leaving Block stunned by such incredible speed. The sword in her hand pointed straight ahead with a stern declaration, "No one is allowed to touch the Count." Lai left the enemy only enough time to let out a pained cry. Lai performed an artistic flip in mid-air to escape the encirclement. Block quietly approached and said in a low voice, asking his junior sister to stop. Seeing a familiar face, Lai stopped, calling out, "Senior brother Block." She sheathed her sword and stood tall, eyeing the man before her, and remarked that he has gotten handsome. "Your muscles are pretty solid too, but..." However, Lai immediately threw cold water on the situation by wondering if any enemy would just stand there and take a slow attack. Like his Block looked down at his hands, stunned. He broke into a cold sweat and admitted, "So all this time I've just been training for show before." Her senior brother could even explain. Lai swung her sword again, attacking relentlessly. She roared, demanding he take responsibility for the clan's downfall. Amidst the vicious sword strikes, Block could only dodge, while apologizing frantically in his panic. Lai lunged, swinging her sword decisively. "Don't apologize, just die, Gudo." The razor-sharp blade stopped right in front of the Count's face by a hair's breadth. Hansen suddenly appeared, grabbing Lai's ankle with his hand, making her unable to move. Gudo joyfully called out, "Hansen Nim!" Lai was lifted into the air. She screamed frantically, "Hey, let go of me! Let go!" Hansen coldly announced, "Cable pullover." He used his incredible strength to slam Lai to the ground, creating a massive impact. Hansen continued to perform 10 reps, relentlessly hammering his opponent into the ground without mercy. Looking at the girl lying motionless, Hansen suddenly remembered and blamed himself. "Oh crap, I got too carried away. I wonder if this punching bag is still breathing." He worriedly asked himself if she had lost her life. Hansen quietly grabbed her leg and dragged her away, explaining to Gudo, "Our warriors are inherently very durable. So..." Gudo quickly reassured himself, "I'm sure she won't die, Hansen Nim." Lai, lying face down on the ground, whispered to herself, "I'm alive." The story shifted to Gudo's majestic castle. Lai suddenly sat up in bed and shouted the name of Gudo. She looked around the strange room and wondered, "Where is this?" A maid entered and kindly asked, "Are you awake?" The maid explained that this was the guest room in Gudo's castle Lai Nim. "I received a request from Hansen Nim to take care of you." The maid politely asked if Lai needed any more help. Lai looked at her and asked, "Hey kid, can you tell me where Count Gudo is?" The maid thought to herself, Lai definitely won't let this go, but she honestly answered, "The Count is currently receiving something called PT from Hansen Nim. Would you like to go with me?" Seeing the maid's enthusiasm to lead the way, Lai nodded in agreement. Both of them headed deep into the forest. Lai, full of doubt, asked, "Is the Count really here?" The maid confirmed, "Definitely. Could you tell me where Count Gudo is, little one?" I thought to myself that Lai definitely wouldn't let this slide, but I still answered honestly, "The Count is receiving something called a PT from Hansen Nim. Would you like to come along?" Seeing how eager she was to lead the way, Lai gave a slight nod. The two of us headed deep into the woods. Skeptical, Lai asked, "Is the Count really out here?" She insisted, "Yes, absolutely." The deeper we went into the wilderness, the more impatient Lai became. "Are we here to exercise, or are you just trying to dump a body?" She just laughed and told me to be patient and trust her a little longer. Lai silently reproached herself for being so naive as to believe that someone who had just attempted to assassinate a lord would actually be led to meet him. Suddenly, the girl exclaimed, "There he is, look, Hansen Nim." Lai was left stunned as she realized she had actually, the situation was brought to a head. She saw the silhouette of Han Sun and rushed over only to find Gudao crawling on the ground, gasping for air in pure agony. Han Sun stood behind him teasingly, announcing a new exercise, Santa Claus bear walking. Gudao let out a tearful scream. "Just kill me already." Han Sun flashed a smug, radiant smile. Instantly, a system notification popped up, inspired by Gudao's scream, followed by another line of text. "A new skill has been formed, inspired by Gudao's scream." The system announced a new skill being forged, while beneath him, Gudao was crawling on the ground with an army of muscle-bound soldiers dragging heavy carts like slaves. He roared in despair, "Lai, kill me! I'd rather die than finish this set." Immediately, Han San acquired the skill Personal Trainer's Mind and fused it with calmness. Han San beamed at Gudao with excitement. "Kill you. Do you like this exercise that much?" An epic-grade passive skill called Perverted Trainer was officially born. Han San's expression suddenly shifted, his eyes widening. Full of excitement, he shouted, "It really is great, isn't it? Let's crank up the intensity." Gudao screamed back in horror. "What kind of crazy thing is this?" Gudao didn't stop wailing in pain. "Lai, you said you'd kill me." But contrary to Gudao's misery, Lai was clasping her hands, eyes closed, enjoying the moment with a look of pure satisfaction. Ah, Pilates and gym have found common ground. Sparkling lights surrounded her as if she were witnessing a magnificent scene. Meanwhile, the group had to keep pulling the carts under harsh supervision. At the castle's main hall, an important meeting was underway with all the officials present. Gu Dao sat at the head of the table, declaring with a grave face, "Since all the key figures are here, let's begin the meeting." A high-ranking official, with a classic GM appearance, opened a scroll and announced the first agenda item due to the invasion by Ben. Many important figures of the nation had fallen in battle. The council began discussing how to address the labor shortage after General Leon refused to return to the kingdom. The official continued to ask how to fill the vacant positions. Gu Dao proposed whoever has muscles, time, and merits should become an official. The ministers all agreed, thinking it was a brilliant idea. Next was the second item. The official announced that many citizens, after witnessing Han Sun's activities, had come to the training center to learn bodybuilding. Thus, a new force called the Bodybuilder Swordsman Army was officially established. A powerful army of warriors with bulging muscles and sturdy helmets swung their swords in unison, chanting a mighty slogan. The official announced the temporary appointment of Goody Builder Gong as head trainer and asked for approval. Gu Dao smiled radiantly, full of excitement. Agreed. That is excellent news. He turned to express his deep gratitude for Han San's assistance in national defense, but Han San suddenly held up a hand. Money can wait. It's workout time. He silently turned and walked away, leaving the count stunned. Gu Dao ran after him, asking anxiously, "Wait, Han San Nim, is there something bothering you?" Before him stood the massive back of Han San, filled with intimidating rippling muscles. An extremely powerful collision occurred. Han San suddenly destroyed the fortress wall, and causing Gu Dao to tumble backward in terror. He gasped in helplessness. "What is it this time?" Gu Dao trembled. "Is there something not to your liking?" Han San's face was now radiating killing intent. Behind him, the muscle army stood ready, poised for training. Seeing the tense situation, an official hurriedly warned the soldiers nearby, "Hey, put the spears away. Han San Nim is getting angry." Han San looked straight at those in the meeting room and asked, "Do you all want to join PT too?" Gu Dao slumped into his chair, whining in despair. Sniff, "It's always just me." To end this grueling training session, Gu Dao immediately folded his hands, looking serious, and ordered the ministers, "We will proceed with the meeting quickly. Summarize all plans and report them as fast as possible." Witnessing the Lord's decisiveness, a member of the muscle army felt moved to tears, cheering, "The count is amazing." Immediately, an official rushed in with a scroll reporting the next development regarding the plan for the third route. In the main hall, Lai was facing judgment for the crime of assassinating the count. But thanks to Gu Dao's clemency, her sentence was reduced. However, she was still stripped of her citizenship. Looking straight at Lai, Gu Dao said in a low voice, "Lai, I know you still hold a grudge against me." He suddenly made a shocking offer. "If this doesn't please you, I will grant you the right to kill me." The statement left all the soldiers around them stunned and bewildered. Gu Dao began to tremble violently. He roared in despair, "No, you really should kill Anopus me." But Lai suddenly flashed a radiant, satisfied smile and replied, "I refuse." Gu Dao collapsed, clutching his chest, sobbing, "Lai, kill me so I don't have to. Go do PT with Han Sun." He screamed in madness, begging anyone to step forward and pass judgment on him. Just then, Han Sun suddenly appeared behind him and announced the good news. "Here, you don't need to be count anymore. From now on, July 24th is only for weights and more weights." The other side was startled and terrified. Han San looked clearly excited, hearing that the ministers on the sidelines started whispering to each other, "Is he planning to hand the country over to us? Should we take this opportunity to seize power? The Count's influence is weak. Surely we can do it. Who knew becoming a lord could be this easy?" Witnessing that scene, Han San was moved to tears. "I never expected you all to care so much about the people who exercise in this country." How moving! Han San immediately took off his shirt, flexed, showing off his rippling muscles, and declared, "I'm very happy, whoever becomes the Count, I will help that person improve their fitness." When the reward is even more terrifying than the punishment, they hurriedly changed their attitudes, laughing happily and praising Gu Dao to the skies. "Oh, my thank you heavens for not letting Gu Dao be born into a noble family. I am very satisfied with my current position. The most suitable person for the title of Count can only be you, Lord Gu Dao." After the meeting, Count Gu Dao promised to manufacture all the training equipment Han San requested. Everyone sat together in the main hall to continue discussing the kingdom's next steps. Even though the kingdom agreed to support him, the training equipment Han San desired exceeded the technical capabilities of the White Kingdom. It is said that only the Earth Spirit King Behemoth can forge them. But the difficult problem is that no one knows where this king is currently located. Right at that moment, Lai suddenly spoke up. "Spirits must respect my Pilates a little bit." She explained that thanks to the time living with the elves and learning from them, she could converse with the spirits. Overjoyed, Han San immediately grabbed her hand and pleaded, "Thank goodness, please take me to Behemoth." Lai looked at him with a stern gaze and offered a condition: it wouldn't be difficult, and in return, he would help her take revenge. Gudan turned pale with fear, thinking she was aiming at him. But Lai immediately corrected him. "No, not you, Count. My true targets are those who slaughtered my clan, the dark magic organization known as Illuminati." Meanwhile, in a pitch-black cave, a minion was screaming in terror. "The variable is too big." Trembling, he promised, "Next time I won't make any mistakes." A young girl with orange hair and a twisted smile immediately mocked him. "Ben, he is very disappointed in you." A round monster beside her also chimed in with a snide remark about his background. The orange-haired girl muttered coldly, "As I thought it would be better without Elise." Suddenly, a giant arm with glowing blue veins swung a massive death scythe, raining down a lightning-fast strike upon the enemy. Witnessing the surprise attack, the faces of those in the cave twisted in horror. A terrifying explosion occurred right at the cave entrance, which bore a red triangle symbol, sending rocks and debris flying. The loud noise caused a flock of black crows to scatter in panic across the dark forest. Below the entrance, a warning sign with a skull lay abandoned on the ground. A pair of heavy boots stepped on the weeds. A voice rang out firmly, "You're hiding so well that it took me forever to find a spot for squats." The target had appeared right before her eyes, Illuminati. A female warrior with an extremely muscular physique and short red hair flashed a confident smile. Her hand tightened around her sword hilt, ready for a purge. Seeing this, Ben screamed frantically in a fit of utmost rage, "I will kill you!" Watching from afar, the girl in the blue dress covered her mouth, smiling with amusement. "Going crazy! How cute! Let me add some fuel to the fire." The monster, Farron beside her, also let out excited cries. Suddenly the girl's eyes turned sharp. She muttered, "All right, I've decided." The girl lifted her dress, her fiery red eyes showing cruelty as she declared the annihilation of Elise. At the same time, Ben frantically jammed green vials into his bulging biceps, causing the blue veins to glow and spread across his body. Dark power erupted, transforming him into a terrifying entity with glowing yellow eyes amidst the darkness. From a crack in the ground, a pitch-black entity emerged with a sinister smile. "Humph. At this point, this can be considered betrayal, right?" The shadow monster immediately chimed in. "Betrayal, betrayal." The orange-haired girl laughed triumphantly, her voice echoing across the battlefield. "Ha! Ha! I will report this choice of yours to him." Ben was completely exhausted, sweat streaming down his withered face. Before the giant arm reaching out from the void, he only had time to let out a desperate scream before vanishing completely into the rubble. Chapter 32 of the Dungeon. Jin begins with the scene of the girl in the blue dress and the monster Farron. hurrying through the dense forest. She laughed heartily. Ben really betrayed us. Surely he knew this beforehand, which is why he sent him right. Farron confirmed firmly that there was nothing he didn't know. The girl became curious about the fate of Ben's research diary, but Farron immediately declared that the item would belong to him. Even though she warned that many other members were also coveting that diary, the monster remained fully confident, asserting that he would definitely win it. Farron declared arrogantly, "Benzer's stuff belongs to me. Don't you dare fight over it." Under the full moon, Lai immediately activated her aura and sword intent. A cataclysmic collision erupted, creating consecutive explosions that tore up the ground and blew everything away. Amidst the smoke and dust, the girl could only scream while Farron roared loudly. Lai moved at blinding speed, gliding smoothly like a phantom through the deep forest. She landed lightly right behind her opponent, leaving him no time to react. Farron was stunned, turning around in surprise, exclaiming, "Lai!" She stood tall behind him, looking coldly at the monster and mocking, "So many weeds, aren't there?" A sarcastic jab. To the core folks, Farron immediately went berserk, his entire body glowing with dark blue light, and he roared in anger, "Weeds!" He activated the skill, Song of the Rotten Forest, releasing a brilliant green energy flow that engulfed the entire battlefield. Farron swung his scythe, creating swirling magical waves that madly chased after Lai. Amidst the trees, ancient trunks were slashed down consecutively under the monster's brutal power. He continued to unleash the wood-rot symphony technique, transforming into a giant, gruesome entity. Lai was forced to put all her strength into her legs to constantly dodge the destructive strikes raining down from above. The giant monster swung his green, glowing scythe in pursuit, but Lai had timely activated her aura, radiating a golden glow to protect herself. While fighting, she casually explained, "Let me teach you the proper, traditional way to weed." "Okay." Lai's voice was firm, stating that to finish this ritual, she would show no mercy. Farron's face twisted in terror as he saw Lai closing in with burning killing intent right before his eyes. Lai stated that she was still a bit old-fashioned, then immediately activated her aura along with peak swordsmanship techniques. She lunged like a whirlwind, unleashing consecutive brilliant golden slashes that crushed the green monster into leaves. The powerful sword swings made the opponent only able to scream in pain before being completely swallowed by the light. Meanwhile, Gudo was diligently using his sword to clear the bushes by the side of the road. "I told you not to cut the grass. The spirits hate that." Gudo quickly defended himself, saying he only did it to make it easier for Han-san and Lai to travel. Han-san suddenly appeared from behind, placed his hand on the Count's shoulder, and said gently, "It's okay. Just go back there and do some walking lunges." Even while in the forest, one cannot escape the glute and thigh workout plan. Gudo immediately obeyed. Han-san turned to ask Lai about the direction, because he felt the whole team had been going in circles for a while now. Lai calmly explained that the paths of the spirits are completely different from normal routes. After walking a bit further, Lai stopped and pointed, confirming, "Here." Han-san tried bouncing and remarked, "With soil this soft, it would be a waste of nature if we didn't do squats." He immediately shouted, ordering the whole team to do 20 squats on the spot. Lai began performing the breath of less technique. She closed her eyes, regulating her breathing in a relaxed manner amidst the peaceful space. The rhythm count of Han-san rang out clearly, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In that state of stillness, Lai clearly felt the birds chirping on the branches and the sound of leaves rustling in the wind.